LBs, Gs, and NBs, welcome the World 2023 play-in stage live from Seoul, South Korea. Today it is time for Group B to take off, including the LEC's Team BDS, facing off against Team Wales from Vietnam, not the ocean, or one of the four kingdoms in the United Kingdom in our second series of the day. I'm Quickshot, joined by GB, as well as Mark Zimmerman. And Mark, I'm going to come straight to you with a question. What genre would you classify gods?
That's what I was asking, because I don't know anything about music. I am probably the most untalented person you could ever stumble onto this stage for anything.
Pop, K-pop, operatic pop? Is that the orchestral pop?
Stadium anthems.
Stadium anthems? What is this?
Stop looking at me. I'm here to talk League, right? Don't ask me about music.
Well, then listen. Yesterday, Loud upset over GAM. GB, you knew it all along. I don't think upset's the right word for this. I think the way they played, it was impressive, though.
That depends who you ask. You know, GAM, Raz had GAM coming in as heavy favorites, you know. But I think game one for me...
That's why he's off the desk.
We got Mark now as a substitute. I think game one was actually Loud overperforming, if you ask me, from what I've saw from their regular season. I think Loud had an amazing game on the Kaiser. I think game two was the game where that's a normal Loud game that I watched in playoffs and then were playing. But it's also a classic GAM game where they actually get the early game rolling for them, and when they read the mid to late game, they start falling apart.
It's really cool to see the kind of evolution of the power rankings in the minor regions. The fact that Loud has really climbed to the top of them recently, I think, when traditionally GAM would have been the favorites. And that game two comeback was really what solidified the fact that they are really playing at a higher level than GAM right now, because they got a Baron early. They should have been able to close that one out, and they had a great play in the bot side to bring it back. And I think that's something that speaks to Loud moving forward through the tournament.
And I mean, they even have Pirates supporting them in stadium. Is it Luffy there, dancing around Robo and the rest of Loud? The fact that they pick up that series win means it is now set up for two MSI rematches from Group A. It's R7 taking on GAM once again for elimination, and it was 2-1 in favor of R7 at MSI, whereas PSG, they eliminated Loud last time 2-0. I think the same could happen again, but maybe the way it plays out could be different, GB?
Yeah, I think these power rankings are going to continue to evolve. I think in the first series that PSG is still coming into that against Loud as heavy favorites. And for Loud to win that would completely shuffle the rankings around, because I do still think that PCS is the best of the minor regions we have around. I think the R7 versus GAM is way more a redemption time for GAM coming into it. They had a lot of roster changes. They need to prove that now this is the testament where they can have a benchmark against R7 and say, we beat them. At least we were better than we were in spring. Yeah,
for Rainbow 7, even though they lost 2-0 yesterday, they did have that first game, which was kind of close, and there's some things that they can hopefully clean up, but game two was not it at all. So it's really hard to predict that lower bracket one, where I think the PSG one's easier to assume they'll come out on top.
I'm also really intrigued to see if PSG can actually bounce, stand up to the usual level. Because at game one, I walked away feeling pretty dejected around how they played, especially Ginger in the earlier game. So I want to see how they're going to play up, especially if Loud can do the same thing they did in game one. There's going to be some interesting matchups there. Talking about the series that we have seen thus far, talking about the World's Qualifier Series and day one of the actual World Championship, we got a couple of champions that are 100% presence picks. Maokai, Rakan, Xayah, Jarvan, Orianna, and Rel. I want to focus on three of them. And Mark, we were talking about meta, we were talking about some of the champions. Where do we start? What do you want to look at and why?
I'm going to talk about Orianna to start, because she is someone who is a little bit newer in the current meta, one of the oldest champions, the staple mid laner for most control mage players, and she has catapulted herself back with the most recent round of buffs. We were able to talk to the dev team, and they're like, well, we hope we didn't overbuff her. It's
one of the concerns,
It was one of the concerns, and it feels like right now she is going to be the de facto queen of the mid lane, the ability to have a pretty stable lane phase and then scale throughout the game, comboed with what the rest of the meta is kind of looking like.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious to see if we're going to start seeing some Syndra actually come through it, or if it is just going to be that strong, we're going to have to ban it. For me personally, that's my most picked and pick'ems right there. I have a theory that players will say, there's no way we're banning Orianna. We're not wasting a ban on Ori.
She's too Norse.
Yeah, exactly. It's just Ori. What's she going to do?
Just avoid the shockwave.
Exactly.
It's easy, right?
But she's incredibly good right now, and the patches really did her a favor in terms of coming back.
And Mark, I know you really don't want to talk about BDS, the ball delivery systems.
I will not do it.
Ball delivery systems, what I'm talking about. Listen, pay
that one I'm fine with,
Rakan is one of them. He's also on the list. Why Rakan?
He does so much from the bot lane right now as your primary engager, as well as having that kind of power to support and win lane early on, that slight bit of range that he has, as well as just, like you said, being a ball delivery system. And it feels like with Xayah being like the highest presence AD carry, that we're going to see a lot of just traditional front-to-back team fighting. There are some splashes in the jungle that come through, but it looks like a lot of tanks as well. And so if you can have this way to set people up for big wombo combos with Orianna as the defining mage in the mid lane, that's what you'll expect to see a lot of.
Yeah, it's the perfect meta for Rakan right now. Not just because of the champions already listed, but also just because frontliners are good right now in the jungle and the top lane. That means you have an E to engage on with the Rakan. You don't have to be the only engager where you would often get blown apart at times. This time around, you have way more room for playmaking potential and making the most of Rakan's kit.
Okay, we've got one more champion to talk about here before I want to go broad and talk a little bit more about the meta. We still have some time before we get to our pre-match. Let's talk about Jarvan. The fact that Jarvan has been banned 5 times is what's confusing me. In my head, it's not a ban-worthy champion, but I want to understand what you've seen from the 3 picks and what you know from behind the scenes. Is it really that important?
Yeah, well, we haven't seen too much of it right now. From what we've seen, it seems kind of flippy, but also Junjie was playing it. Yeah, I would say that Junjie possibly in the first series where it went kind of slow, not the most impressive Jarvan. It wasn't really played throughout the most of its capabilities because the clears were so slow. There was no gang on the first, second, or third jungle clear coming through, and usually want that on Jarvan. But also, I was speaking to Molecule, and he was saying that there might be a potential for this champion to be a little bit of an echo jungle, where it's like it seems really good and hype coming into the tournament, but in practice, maybe it's not going to be as good when it finally comes to it.
Could fall out after play-ins as well, right?
It's also a champion that you can do a lot of cheese stuff with, level 2 ganks, interesting pathing, stuff like that. And if you're getting scrim monsters who are popping off with Jarvan in the early game, and then, you know, on stage people play slower, they don't go for those. You go through 3 full clears. It's like, well, maybe I'll pick something else to do that with. But
I will say, though, he is not an echo. He does have that early agency where he can at least get ganks. You know what you get out of a Jarvan. There is still the more easy to execute playmaking potential. So I'm still on the fence on it. I'm not too sure what to make of it just yet in comp.
That, plus there was a Reddit thread, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, talking about how Yuumi was like not played at all during play-ins, and then main stage is like permaban. So there's like always this kind of thing where you're like, play-ins is definitely not the meta going throughout the rest of the tournament. It will continue to evolve, and who knows, maybe Jarvan falls out of the meta.
Okay, so the question I then also want to have is, let's expand a little bit. I've asked the production to give me a pentakill of Roots pentakill and Kai'Sa, and the reason I want to bring this up, talk to me about the bot lane meta and what we've seen, and specifically around the champ pool, right? We've seen a lot of very dominant periods for 1 or 2 ADs throughout the year. GB, are we going to see more diversity? Are you expecting more? Do you think we're going to just settle into a couple of unique picks?
I mean, Kai'Sa itself is diverse just in its own right. She's the new Ezreal of League of Legends, where you just pretty much build anything on her. We've seen the Storm Razors, we've seen the Lethality, we've seen the Rage Blades.
Oh, you sound like a Kai'Sa supporter.
I love Kai'Sa, and I've said this many times as well. I know the AP Kai'Sa was toxic. I think Kai'Sa is an incredibly fun champion to watch in pro play, because when you give this to the best of the best players, when I watch an AD carry, I don't just want to see you with Jinx on an Enchanter, because that will make anyone look like Ruler. I want to see someone who knows how to navigate a team fight, and Kai'Sa is one of those champions where you're allowed to do that.
Quick hit on the bottom lane, specifically on the AD champions. What are you expecting?
Well, you said she's the new Ezreal. Ezreal's still also in the meta. Seo played it. It looked decent. I think there was potential to see even better play on the champion. He's a very high mechanically talented champion. If you can actually land all your skill shots and shift forward, but also not get hit, like I think this is a champion that people will continue to play as the tournament goes on.
Right. I'm really excited to see what happens. It's only been 2 best of series at the World Championships, 1 extra one. I will get my head around that one. Let's focus in on the Flying Oysters taking on Detonation FocusMe. I want to start with the Flying Oysters bot lane. Shunn, best player on the team? Question mark, exclamation mark?
I mean, he's been my favorite player to watch.
Exclamation mark.
And I think for the same reason with Kai'Sa we just talked about as well, he's just a guy that's so good at navigating team fights. I love the way that he's playing it. It's not just an AD carry getting facilitated through an early laning phase where they get ahead. It's a guy that knows exactly where to click, exactly where to position himself, and exactly how to use his abilities. So I would say, but viewing this, I was pleasantly surprised by Shunn's performance.
I like how you said it's not just that they can get ahead in the early game, but they often also do that off the back of ShiauC's champions. His Blitzcrank, as you saw in that replay, was huge, and I think it's something that the team does need if they're going to perform well at this tournament, that their bot lane is able to continue to find these kinds of plays that they found domestically, because when their bot lane can't get these kinds of leads, often off their own play or Gemini coming down, they do seem to stall out a little bit. JimieN is pretty good in the mid lane on the Azir, and I'm wondering if he'll be able to get that, if people just ban it, and then how he moves down his kind of individual tier list from there.
Let me take a look at the stats there on your screen right now. Phenomenal performance for Shunn. He's going to obviously step up against Yutapon today. We'll turn attention to him in a moment. Before we do, can I build up on the ShiauC discussion? Because the man behind our stats documents, our preparation, the guy in charge of writing most of the words on our teleprompter, Marcus and the rest of the team, have wrote this statement. He unironically gets Blitzcrank banned against him. Now validate that sentence for me. Unironically, are we going to see it either picked or banned today?
Well, it's the opposite of ironically, and that means that they're doing it on purpose. So yeah, they are getting Blitzcrank banned against them. And yeah, it is a champion you need to be scared of, especially with the champions we've seen meta right now. He's not afraid of picking into Rakan. He doesn't mind that you're picking it into Nautilus. He will literally just pick this champion and outskill you with it. And you saw the goal difference from Shunn as well in lane. That's the highest amongst all AD carries there. So yeah, a scary bot lane for sure.
Very scary bot lane. See what they can do today. Because coming into DFM's first match at Worlds, for the team, it has been a very rough summer. Management issues have led to a competitive ruling that resulted in both role swaps and roster swaps. But I do want to focus in on the players and a specific player, Yutapon. He was role swiped to top lane, still won the LJL, is now back in the bot lane for Worlds, and all I can say is what a legend.
Oh, absolutely. He stepped up when the team needed him, and obviously Yutapon's been in multiple positions before. He's played every position competitively except mid lane. Now it does mean that he can go back into the bot lane position, but it just goes to show that he was such a hero both in-game and out of the game for what he brought to DFM, and he's been a hero for them for ages as well. Probably one of the most achieved players coming out of Japan as well.
Yeah, almost any regional league, at least domestically, he is one of the most accomplished players in the world. He has dominated the LJL in multiple positions. The fact that he can do it anywhere, he seems to be a great guy as well, and he's a very easy person to cheer for when you're trying to root for DFM.
Yeah, of course. And it has been somebody that has been cheered for by many Western fans, various amongst them for years. Let's now talk about the top lane, because apaMEN, or papaMEN as I prefer, has been brought out of retirement to play in the top lane. Here's some old man stats for you. 31 years old. He's the oldest player to ever play it, MSI Worlds. He has a child, not a baby goat. Kid, he has a child, of course. He was brought out of retirement in 2021, but he's never played at MSI or Worlds before, so making his debut here today. apaMEN, papaMEN, as he's lovingly called. What are we expecting from him in the top lane?
Yeah, I was speaking to Nymera about this guy as well, and he was basically telling me that he was one of the old guards of the top lane as well, but he's also one of the guys that would not necessarily have a playstyle like Ebi. He's always been a top 3 top laner in Japan, but he would not be afraid to bring out a Yorick, for example, to bring a little bit of spice up to the top lane. But Renekton and Aatrox, usually something we would see from him, and probably what he will default into in today's matchup as well.
Yeah, I'm just happy to see Yutapon back in his preferred position. It was really cool that he did that, but also let's get him back where he's actually his best. apaMEN will probably be able to step in and play weak side despite coming out of retirement to do this, and hopefully it's a return to form for DFM, because they were one of the most exciting teams.
Hold on, I love this. Can we check what the fans are saying? Because then I want to hear what your guys' prediction is on the matchup, right? Because I'm still a little uncertain exactly where I'm landing. So for MasterCard fan predictions, let me run through this and see what it is. The fans have predicted, they've predicted who can win one of our matchups each day. You can vote at MasterCardGG on X to participate. And they are leading in favor of DFM 63.9%. Mark, I cut you off, so I want to come back to you first. How are these two teams going to match up? Fans are fairly heavily in favor of DFM.
I understand why. We all love Jujutsu Kaisen. You know, it's a great anime. It's something that's very easy to just
You're going to go straight to weep straight out the gate?
It's what most of it is.
Okay.
I don't think it's based off of...
I think it's probably they know DFM better than they know Flying Oysters.
And we saw Flying Oysters like last year for the first time, and you know, it was they beat 100 Thieves once,
so you're
hold that L. But
you're politely saying they're going to beat that DFM are losing today. Tell me why. We've got about a minute and a half to go.
Well, I think the bot lane is a big part of it. I think CFO is, generally speaking, a more cohesive team. I really like how JimieN has played, like I was kind of highlighting him as well. And I think for DFM, they've been struggling more recently in international play, and I don't think with all the struggles that you're highlighting in Summer Split, they're coming in on the best form that they can hit.
Yeah, I mean, I think today's going to be a quick 2-0 for CFO, just in general.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I think the only role right now where DFM actually's got a chance is going to be through Aria to try and work through that mid-pressure and bring that to the rest of the map. But I also think the rest of the map is going to be under fire and a lot of pressure, because the laners, especially the bot lane as well, as Mark has mentioned from Flying Oysters, they are just better.
Yeah, I think Steel combined with Aria's is maybe where it's going to be, because Gemini sometimes, I don't know how to put it like too harshly, but like auto-pathing, where it feels like he's doing the most obvious thing.
He's listening to the GPS on the minimap.
Yeah,
he's just there. Where does it go next?
And like, he doesn't always...
GPS is amazing.
He sometimes leaves a little bit more for me what I want out of him in interesting paths, really throwing a wrench in someone's game plan.
We've got less than a minute to go. I'm going to come to you for one last thought here, GB. PCS versus LJL. Historically, I think it's PCS favored. What are the numbers? And I mean, you're pretty confident in favor of Flying Oysters today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's 3-2 right now in favor of PCS. I was just actually impressed that it was 2 games that was actually going over to LJL. Hopefully they can make it more. I think they had a disaster at the Messiah 2023, falling down with disappointments with GAM. They're really hoping to elevate their region. Yeah. But I also think with everything that's happened, that's going to be a tough ask for them.
Well, listen, 20 seconds to go until we introduce the players, it is looking like an uphill battle. Detonation FocusMe have come over struggles, both personally and professionally throughout the course of summer, but they're champions once again. And today they stare down the barrel of PCS's second seed, the Flying Oysters. It is time to kick off our third best of in the World's 2023 Play-In Series. Let's hit the rift!
Khi mà đến chung kết thế giới thì team mình đã có một số khó khăn hơn là tụi mình đã lấy lại được kiểu tâm lý để mình có thể lợi dụng từng nhánh thua lên.
In 2021, people say that I didn't quite deserve to be here. But in the end of the days, you know, it's my job. I'm just a professional. Really grateful for this opportunity, and I hope I can prove myself to people here.
I think it's important to keep believing, kind of keeping your head down and just grinding.
Mình sẽ không bao giờ từ bỏ cơ hội này.
プロのシーンから2年ぐらい引退して遠のいてたので、そうですね。子供がいるので、普通に働いて普通に成果しようかなって思ってたのが、いろいろワールズとか試合を見たりとか、そういうLGL を見たりしているうちに、なんていうか、まだやっぱいろいろやりたかったな的なことを考えることはありました。
我觉得过往3次比赛就是队友带着我的感觉，因为我可能就是还没有那么成熟，但今年就是我觉得我自己变得更成熟，然后去带领这些队友一起前进世界赛了。
みんななんですかね、ワールズとかの経験もあって、やっぱりなんか僕は学ぶ感じで。
我觉得我们是在越困难的时候，然后会表现得越好的队伍，这样吧。就是我们5个选手都是这样的个性，因为我们都非常不服输。
2年のブランクがありますけど、そんなことを感じさせないようなプレーを見せます。
With their appearance last year, this is their second World Championship. How high can they fly this time? It's the CTBC Flying Oyster.
And this is going to be a fun game to watch coming in immediately off the rip. As teams get a little walk-ins, you know, get excited. I hope we see some personality. Right now, it's stone cold killers, you know. They're right into the thick of things. But, you know, they need to have some fun, I think.
And I feel like, you know, this is a roster that's like, their experience, this isn't their first time on the stage. Like we said, second time this organization comes to the World Championship. But in their playoffs at PCS, these guys did 3 back-to-back best-of-5s that all went to 5 games. Just 1 game shy of taking that first seed away from PSG. Like, I feel like these guys are coming in with confidence after how PSG played.
Absolutely. I mean, look, CFO, they crushed in the playoffs, right? Up until that finals, of course. And that was coming after they kind of squeezed into playoffs at the end. Not as exciting a regular season for them, finishing 9-9. But now some chances to do some damage here in the play-in stage.
We'll have to see how they can do. Certainly excited to see.
There's your koalas.
Yeah, we've got koalas, we've got oysters, we've got whales on later today. We're a veritable zoo.
It's the
here.
zoo, yeah, I absolutely love it. The zookeeper. But on the other side, with 22 finals appearances and 16 championships, this is the LJL's most decorated team. It's Detonation FocusMe.
And it's exciting to see, isn't it? Detonation FocusMe stepping up. Obviously a fan favorite. We saw the fan vote. It was, what, 66% in favor of DFM. A lot of people at home cheering for this squad. And like you say, domestically dominant. They've been to the World Championship many times. I mean, this is not far off of the team that we saw at MSR.
Except it kind of is almost like the storylines, right? Like, obviously they win and they always win, but the whole swap around with Yutapon going up into the top lane, now back into the bot side. 31-year-old apaMEN coming in top lane after 2 years playing professionally. The last time he played was 2021 summer. You couldn't write a better story than this. This is like Christopher Nolan at his finest.
Right, like with apaMEN as well, I feel like he's such an aspirational player for like so many people. Like for me, I'm also 31, right? I don't have a kid, but like he reminds you that you can still do it. Age isn't going to stop you. It's like kind of Pasha biceps vibes, where it's like, you know, he was always the dad in the CSGO scene. I feel like we now have our own Pasha biceps here in League of Legends as well.
I just love the apaMEN name too. You know, we're gonna have to work that in today.
It's so good. I'm joined by Ender. We're going to be kicking things off today for you, and I feel like we've got quite an exciting series in that DFM, you know, coming in, doing decently at MSI. Certainly a team that have been representing their region for a long time, but now they're coming up against PCS to kick off their tournament. The second seed, we saw how good PSG were. You have to assume that CFO will be in a similar caliber, and you've got to wonder what DFM are going to bring to the table to challenge that.
Yeah, because that's the real question, right? How does apaMEN look like in the top lane? When we saw him previously play professionally, there was a lot of, you know, the Nars, their Nectons in the top side. Top lane meta, I don't feel like changes super drastically over the years, so that's not really a concern. But what does the form look like? What does Yutapon's form look like going down into the bot side as well? Those are two large question marks coming into this game. Although I will say, this is probably the best matchup to get initially if you want to work through the laning phase, because the Flying Oysters do not crush you in the lane phase. They take things slow. This team had an over 60-minute game back in the PCS, and they're really known for their powerful team fighting coming through the bot lane.
Yeah, they certainly are, and I feel like we've kind of got somewhat symmetrical storylines almost coming into this one, where top lane, we've had shiftabouts for both teams. Like, since MSI, both top laners have changed up in this one, and when we look towards the bottom lane as well, you know, we talked about Yutapon, but then Shunn as well is kind of a focus point for a lot of people when talking about the PCS's second representative. He feels like the powerhouse of this roster. So in terms of who we're looking at, it really is that top lane, that AD carry on both sides of it.
100%. And for Shunn, you know, it makes sense. If your team takes things slower, plays for team fights, that is where the AD carry is going to thrive. And that makes the draft very interesting as well, because there's sort of two main ideas, I think, coming in to the play-in siege in terms of the meta. First one is going to be your wombo combo. Jarvan, Orianna priority is skyrocketing. And when you see bans in the jungle like Lee Sin and like Poppy, that really makes you think first or second rotation Jarvan, and then locking in the Orianna if you can.
I love that that's the way we're approaching Worlds this year. It takes me back, man. Jarvan Orianna, that's like classic combo. Jarvan Rumble as well. It's like, it's old school wombo combo. It takes me back to like Pharrell and Lord 4K Elo shockwaves, you know?
Oh,
like,
that's way back in the day.
Way back.
Yeah, you're really leaning into the 31 years old thing. I like it.
Look, it is what it is. I've accepted the reality of my situation.
Maybe you can go pro, just like apaMEN. I absolutely love it.
You wouldn't say that if you saw my solo queue games.
Oh, well.
Jack's taken off the board as well as we look towards the solo lanes, and the Rel Flex, who've just been pretty consistently banned so far.
Yeah, and honestly, like I'm seeing the Jax ban. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially if apaMEN does want to go, tankier route in the top side, so we just can't get split into Oblivion. Maokai is also going to come in initially for Detonation FocusMe. So it remains to be seen whether or not DFM, sort of with their prep coming into the series, want to match in the team fight. Maokai not necessarily known for like insane early game ganks, but I do think once you unlock the ultimate, if you do have range, there's a lot of options you can do, whether or not you walk towards a lane that's been chunked out, can set up a dive, or just use that ultimate to push players off the tower and set up for some early plays.
We'll see. The Maokai locked in as well. You could see something like a Jayce coming out potentially for Aria, although we've not seen that much just yet. And yeah, we talked about the combo already. Rumble Jarvan, the spicy hot pot, as it were. But in fact, going to take that Jayce that we just talked about away, denying that Maokai combo.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? You want that physical damage. You have AP top laner, so physical damage mid. Other side has the magic damage jungler, so deny that does make some sense, especially because the Tristana was also banned away. Now, this does offer some questions towards the bot lane, because I think the answer to a lot of these like wombo combo, big CC comps could be more defensive bot lanes, your Xayahs of the world, the Kaisas, the Ezreals, things that can get away. But if we see Senna, Nyla, I would be more than pleased.
That would certainly be a treat, wouldn't it, to start our day off. The Senna's locked in. Do we get the Nyla? We'll have to wait and see. On the other side as well, there's potential for something like an Ivan coming in alongside that Jayce. Jayce loves a tree in the jungle. Maokai, Ivan, he doesn't matter which one. Maybe even a Zac. No, I'm kidding. yeah, but Ivan could be an option.
Yeah, especially because when you see Senna locked in, like Senna Maokai, and then the other side is Jayce Rumble, I'm seeing a lot of like range in terms of like poke options for CFO or like just dropping the ultimate to finish off a kill. Whereas Senna Maokai want to play team fights a little bit more control oriented, you know, get as many autos off as you can with the Senna, take things slow, maximize the heal. So either CFO need to follow that up by getting some dives so they can break into the backline or continue playing range. I actually think something like the Lilia could be interesting for them. Would mean they're really lacking in sort of hard frontline to tank up shots, especially like something like the Senna. So of course that Sejuani is going to come in as a really strong champion to play around both the melees and top and mid.
I feel like we're seeing the dichotomy of jungle being held there. You've got the Nidalee and then you've got the Sejuani, like two pretty opposite approaches to how to play the jungle. It is going to be that Sejuani Gemini playing for the engage, playing for the front line as we head towards our second round of bans. And I mean, maybe something like the Neela could be worth banning away. It can be such an incredibly strong bot lane with the Senna.
Yeah, it almost feels like you can, like, maybe DFM are wanting to pull a free ban away, something like this. But we'll see. Sion taken off the board right now, and I'm wondering how much bot lane shenanigans can we get up to with that Senna down there? Because if we do want to play some melees, that is an option. With Aatrox already taken, that seems to be what CFO is targeting away.
Yeah, the Senna Sion, we've seen it before. It's not going to be here today, though.
You could theoretically play the Maokai Senna. All I'm
well,
saying.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see on what goes with the Senna in the end. Azir going to be taken off of the board, which, you know, Orianna, Azir, Talia, all taken off now. A lot of focus towards that mid lane. I'm curious where we'll end up. The Nico is the big mid lane pick in my mind that's still glaring at us.
100%. And whatever Aria gets his hands on in the mid lane is going to be nasty. Like, we talk a lot about the top laner, the bot lane, all the swaps they made. Aria has been sort of like the standout player for DFM so consistently throughout the years, has been absolutely on point. So even though there are questions in top and bot, mid lane is always a giant exclamation mark. It's going well for Aria.
It certainly is. Shunn hovering a Draven right here. We see the Blitzcrank banned away from ShiauC. And like, ShiauC's name even looks like a Blitzcrank hook. You can see why they're banning that one away from him. The Draven locked in, though, so aggression across the board, basically, for CFO.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be gnarly, especially because you say the Senna, hey, you actually can't walk up and stack souls. Senna would love to play a chill lane against, you know, a melee support where she can just stack up that passive, get to 20, get to 40, those 20 increments. But that's going to be a lot harder, especially if we get an aggro support down next to the Draven. Something like that All-Star could work. But as far as setting up Aria for success in mid, Vi Aria is a power duo to hunt down kills, both around mid and also roaming into the river and getting inside the enemy jungle.
Yeah, I mean, it takes me back to MSI. Vi Ahri instantly locked in. We saw that a lot of times. But ShiauC looking towards the hook champion, the Nautilus that we see oh so often will be locked in. Fantastic to set up that Draven. And it does mean that we've got kind of an interesting bot lane.
Yutapon put the work on in the top lane. I do think it is going to be the Senna Maokai coming on through from this. And it's actually a really annoying lane because of how much sustain there is. Maokai has his passive, and then Senna also can just spam away the Qs very freely inside that lane. I do presume that it will be the Maokai farming, so in case you haven't seen this in a while, that is not the carry Senna down on the bot side of the map. Instead, wants to maximize that passive potential. You can't CS more than, I think, about 2 minions a minute if you want to get those in.
They have just swapped, but I guess Yutapon will still probably play the support style Senna. I will say,
it could honestly go either way. I'm partial to the Senna personally because I think getting that passive as high as possible is good, but the Maokai support is perfectly valid.
I will say, this ruins everything for pick'ems. Like, people trying to figure out the best flex pick, I don't think many people were thinking Maokai for that pick. No. Now, it's going to be played in support. People that are playing the same duo might switch the roles, so the AD carries of the Maokai, this could become like a 4-role pick if we even see Maokai in the top lane. Like, pick'ems are doomed. I just have to say, I'm so disappointed that we're playing a Senna bot lane, and Yutapon, after spending a split in top lane, is not playing a top lane champion, right? Like, he'd locked in the Aatrox. That was a pick he went for, awesome. If he'd gone for the Maokai, any of that would have made sense. It would just put a perfect little bow on this story. But no. He's the AD carry player now. We all remember Yutapon. He has been so good over the years with this team. Yeah, I mean, Yutapon, absolute gamer, right? Like, we talked about it back at MSI. This guy's radiant in Valorant. He's global elite in CSGO. He's the top rank in Overwatch as well. Like, every game this guy touches, he is a top player no matter what. So it doesn't surprise you that he can swap up to top, come back down to AD carry, and still make it to the World Championship. Early invade, though, here. ShiauC and Shunn moving forwards. Not going to drop a ward just yet, though. Yutapon spotting them.
I was right. It is support Senna. Confirmed. So support item down there on the Senna. Harp does have the teleport, so it just looks like Yutapon wants to play the marksman champion. That is perfectly valid. And well, ShiauC hunting around looking for a little bit of some hook action, but DFM perfectly right for this one. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, late invade coming through from CFO. I don't know if they want to actually commit to something in terms of that invade, but it looks like no. Just dropping the ward, moving back to their own blue buff. So we will have a fairly standard start, and it looks like both junglers will be pathing up towards the top lane.
And in case you want to check out some cool tech, everyone, I'd encourage you to look at Yutapon right underneath the flash, and also Shunn underneath the flash there. We do have stack counters. We've got it in the game. So don't be concerned. You're going to see exactly when Yutapon is getting those range increases. Those happen every 20 souls 20 missed souls or thresh, as Dracos always reminds me. So once you get up to 20 and you get those off of the minions, of course, so Yutapon is not going to be finishing off those last hits. That improves the chance of miss dropping that he's going to be picking up right there. Also gets it by attacking an enemy champion twice. So whenever ShiauC rather walks up to auto attack those minions, Yutapon is going to be stacking up that mist.
Yeah, just going to be trained back and forth there. But don't forget to log in and watch on lolesports.com to earn exclusive Worlds 2023 rewards. We've got drops, we've got emotes, we've got icons. There's all sorts to be getting your hands on. So make sure to check it out and watch the stream over on lolesports.com. But I'm excited to see how the junglers are going to approach each other in this game, right? We've got a Sejuani versus a Vi, both junglers that can be extremely proactive in the early game. Happy to get a gank going, but also, especially Sejuani, happy to get into the enemy jungle. That early ward, giving the information that they maybe can move down there.
Yeah, so Gemini knows that Steel started on Raptors and then went topside, so it's a safe bet that that's a 4-camp clear until that before the red buff comes down. So Gemini is just 1 camp ahead on tempo to get down here. Steel is not going to make it in time. Gemini has the smite as well, so that is just going to be a stolen away red buff, and that really reduces the impact of I can have in the early game. That slow, very nice to have on the Vi, and actually Gemini is going for the Krugs as well. He held on to the smite, so that's just going to be 2 camps yoinked away. Steel has nothing to say about it.
He's not even seeing it. He might even get all the small Krugs here. He does. Gemini getting basically the entire camp. ShiauC moves in to make sure that it's safe, and Steel, I mean, he's living up to his name, just in the opposite direction.
Yeah, so this is a really big early game plan. You saw that, you know, ShiauC was donating some misstacks over to Yutapon, just getting auto attacks on the minion wave, but that was to guarantee priority on the bot side. So ShiauC walks into the jungle, now he's walking into mid lane. I don't think he's going to have an angle. Those ranged creeps a little bit annoying. Nautilus can't sneak those Qs through those, so even though Aria is under pressure with 3 enemy champions around mid, he can stand up and farm because he just plays on the north side of those minions, and there is absolutely nothing that Nautilus is going to do.
Yeah, it feels like Aria as well, very safely positioned in the lane, so he'll be okay. Gemini moving up to the top side now. Scuttle Crab already taken by Steel, but I'm looking towards that top lane matchup as well, right? apaMEN bringing out the Aatrox, which, you know, this is a player from 2021. It feels like this is a pick from back then, you know, as well. We all think of the Shy and G2 when we see this pick coming through at the World Championship.
Nope.
But, you know, during the laning phase, he's up against the Rumble. Rumble's, he's a terror. He's a terror for melee top laners.
It's true, especially Rest is going for the Ignite build as well, so a ton of kill threat. That Grievous Wounds is going to be really nice as well, especially when level 6s come online for any sort of all-in around the top side of the map. So wouldn't be too surprised to see Gemini looking around that. Nice little hook and some damage, but as I was saying, you're not going to find much around that. Gemini with flash forward.
Flash, Aria could be stunned one more auto, but they can't quite get in range. And Aria flashed on by Gemini, but he doesn't finish the kill. He's not tanking though, he gets it. No! Just on the edge of range. Gemini was holding aggro for so long, but it just wasn't quite good enough.
I respect it. JimieN saw the angle, went for it. It was actually so unfortunate because he couldn't transform into the ranged, and Aria almost ended up surviving because of it. They get that kill in mid side, and with both mids burning their flash, that makes big mid lane a giant point of contention in the next few minutes, especially because both junglers are going to be ticking up to level 6 before those flashes come online. Aria just hit it as well. So if JimieN is ever pushing up in this mid lane, it is a whole world of hurt for that Jayce. This is a nice gank from Gemini, just playing right on the opposite side of the Fog of War, and there's just not much Aria can do. It was a nice charm, but ultimately, if JimieN's ever going to commit the flash, it's just going to be a trade for that one.
It's really unfortunate because JimieN actually pathed back for a second. He thought he'd got it with the Q down and the W around him. He thought that would finish it off. Aria was like sub 10 HP there. Does mean that it's a trade in the end. So Aria doing a really good job just to maintain an even situation despite Gemini spending time in the mid lane.
Both mid laners end up teleporting back as well, so nothing too much going to be lost there. Aria's about a wave up in terms of actual minions, and even though Gemini did go for the early invade, a lot of times you don't actually get a huge lead off of invading the enemy junglers. Gemini's just back in mid, but level 6 means Aria is perfectly okay. And easy little cooldown spent there. It might be a dragon opportunity for DFM, as a matter of fact. Bot lane's really pushed back from Shunn, and now that Gemini sort of, used that Q in, there's no flash on either him or JimieN. It's a little bit hard to play around mid right now.
The only issue they've got is because Aria had to use the ultimate in that previous play, does make it a little bit more awkward for Ahri to try and have these skirmishes in the early game without that ult.
Oh, here we go. ShiauC's looking for it.
Stand aside comes through. ShiauC, great hook right into the middle of the mist, and Yutapon in all kinds of trouble. Slowed up the ignite, tick it away. But Gemini starts hitting Harp instead. They're retreating, and I was so sure that was going to be a kill.
All good. Yutapon has the flash, has the barrier, can just waltz on out of that one. No problem whatsoever.
Do you know, I was told CFO are a really slow-paced team that take it easy in the early game, but they're being pretty proactive. They're trying to make plays happen, and I like that Gemini, with this Sejuani, is trying to use that early proactivity that Sejuani offers you.
It's also nice just you have time before Worlds. You put in some work, you come in with a very different look. It's important, because otherwise, you just get prepped into oblivion. Enemy teams picks hard scaling versus you, and then you get out team fought later on. So both teams taking a little bit more of an aggressive approach. And I think mid lane is going to heat up in the next minute and a half, especially Steel. When that 6 comes through, you gotta make use of the lack of flash around mid. So the best JimieN can do to full push the wave, like we see right now, or hold it in front of his tower, he has to weather the storm in the next 60 seconds.
Just to be able to get out of the chain. Hex Drinker already picked up by apaMEN. He knows he needs the MR for that lane. Wouldn't be surprised to see that just go straight into a Maw, honestly. We've already seen that in this tournament, like Maw finished as a first item. As we see, ShiauC moved up to the top side. Gemini's there as well, as Herald has just spawned onto the map, but it looks like the DFM want to answer.
Gemini hasn't started it just yet, and actually I think Shunn was a little bit confused, was walking towards mid lane like they wanted to go for a fight. He's still going bot side, and as a matter of fact, Yutapon and Harp have both come up here, so this is absolutely just going to end up being a Herald. If the fight were to break out, Shunn did hit level 6, so can get involved with that global ult.
Harp's here, level 6, like you say, and I mean, Gemini's just going to go down here, surely. He's totally alone. ShiauC goes for a hook as well, but him and JimieN have got to get out of here. Steel locks him up, though. And CFO, like you say, they're 80 carries at the bottom side of the map. I don't think that's a fight you should be trying to take.
Just a huge error there. No vision apart from the Scuttle Crab, so I don't think they'd actually seen that Yutapon and Harp had moved up. Regardless, though, you're aware of the timing they went for that reset. So, yeah, this is great for Shunn. He can push that wave down in the bot side, but as a matter of fact, Harp is going to be back there in time. So he's going to pick up that full wave down there. And CFO just donate 2 free kills to the Vi, who is now ready to just take over.
And worth mentioning as well, great positioning from Harp to punish that. He's like, look, they're going to want to be a bit cheeky. They're going to want to try and get vision and potentially poke at us. So I'm just going to step a little bit further forward than they're expecting, get a control ward down, and then obviously Maokai, he's going to lock someone up. He's going to help find the kill. And that's where the Aria, the Vi kick in, right?
Oh, yeah.
That's where you can never escape again.
The crazy thing about DFM's comp is the reach they have. What I mean by that is like the long range ability to actually like punish you with crowd control, whether it's the Vi QR to close the gap, the Ahri, the Maokai ultimate. That is so much range. Then you also have the global ult in Yutapon too. So it's very easy for DFM to set up picks exactly like this. Even if there's not an objective up, if they can position themselves inside the enemy jungle, that is going to be doom for CFO. Once these outer rings of turrets go down, mid lane stepping up to catch the wave in the middle of the map is going to be very, very concerning for the Flying Oysters, because DFM can just jump on you from miles away out of the fog.
You can see our total damage so far. Anyone that says Sejuani is just a tank, is like, you know, just there to be the engage, I think that kind of disproves it. I think that's a great example of what Sejuani really does in the early game. Like, the E passive alone just does so much damage.
Yeah, and in terms of like fighting too, just that extra second and a half of damage reduction is just so powerful off of the passive. So unfortunately, Gemini, because he used the flash around mid lane, ends up costing him. But this is what I was talking about, looking for those dives with the Maokai on the turret.
It's already begun. JimieN has the Dusk Blade, trying to use that movement speed. But look at this! That's the reach you were talking about! The long arm of the law coming through. JimieN actually gets a kill, and he's got a stopwatch as well. Charm comes through, Gemini flashes out, JimieN finally falls, and it becomes a 1-for-1.
I was confused for a second, because he's not playing Gwen. How is he immune? That doesn't make any sense, but between the Duskblade completion, getting that kill on Steel, and then the stopwatch on top, that was crazy that he almost ended up surviving. In fact, Gemini gets out. It's a testament to the time that JimieN bought. It allows Gemini to also get out of there, and what was a huge investment for DFM ends up just being kind of all right. Yeah, a lot of minions lost for JimieN, but I think CFO are going to be happy with how they were able to fight back there.
Yeah, and honestly, in the meantime, Shunn, just free farm in the bottom side, right? Got at least 3 waves, just solo XP there. Got to play it as well. I mean, what can you do? What on earth can you do against this?
I mean, it's a great ultimate out of Gemini. Look at that. Aria had to drop turret aggro going up, so much time was lost, so much damage was lost because Aria couldn't get in the fight. That is 100% Gemini reading the play, playing just on that north side in the Fog of War. It was a huge save from CFO's jungler.
Yeah. Also, some mega damage coming out from them to be able to get the kill back across. Like, the fact that they go 1-for-1 there.
Oh, yeah.
I did not expect that kind of damage coming out from Jayce this early in the game.
Yeah, I forgot to look at the bottom of the screen and see that Duskblade completion, because as soon as that is there, Jayce becomes an absolute beast. You know, JimieN's been getting pushed in mid most of the game. You know, right there, he's getting tower dove, but now he's going to really begin to hurt, especially around objectives. And when I talk about reach, you think a Rumble ult, a Draven ultimate on top of the Jayce Q poke, there's some instant burst potential from CFO.
ShiauC might be instantly burst here, though, as he's been caught out again. The ultimate going to be popped from Aria to guarantee that kill, and the Dark Seal is in pocket. That's 2 stacks in already.
And going to be able to gobble up the blue buff there as well. Looks like Shunn maybe wants to try and fight for that blue with Gemini, but Yutapon stuck around, so I don't think this is going to favor them. Yeah, they're just guaranteeing that they can pick up the Grump. That's what it's called. I wanted to call the Grump a Scuttle Crab for a second. I'm like, that's not what it is.
Scuttle Frog.
Scuttle Frog, yeah. What if everything was just a Scuttle Crab? That would be kind of sweet.
That's literally a version of TFT.
Look, Rift Herald's a Scuttle Crab.
I think there's logic there. It's like a Void Corrupted Scuttle Crab. Yeah. That's my theory.
I mean, Sejuani could ride a Scuttle Crab. I don't know.
Voidborn Sejuani skin? Any buyers? I don't know where I'm going with this one. Plays taken though at the bottom side. His Drake coming up. It's just over a minute here, and I feel like we're being treated a little bit here, Ender, because we've got both teams fairly even in gold. We've got gold on the carries as well. Aria and JimieN both getting kind of stacked up for these fights. When it comes towards Drakes, we both compositions have some like early proactivity to be able to make these fights happen as well.
100%. DFM have the tough choice, I think, though, of knowing when do we actually all in, right? Because you have the Vi and Ahri, which can go in really deep. Can't really get out so easily, so I think what they want to do is play the fights as slow as possible, almost to make as much use of the Senna healing damage range as they can, and then once they can sort of divide the fight, if they see, you know, CFO are splitting in towards them, that's when they activate the Vi, Ahri, the Maokai, and can look to tear up. Obviously, apaMEN can look for some flanks and options like that, but I don't think these fights are so easy, especially against CFO, who are teamfight, that's their power, is how they play in the 5-on-5s, and we haven't even seen Shunn cash in yet. So this game is really balancing closely here.
Yeah, we're on, what, 300 stacks at this point for Shunn. That's going to be a big cash in if he gets it.
He's just dominating Yutapon. Yutapon only has 45 stacks. That's crazy.
I will say Harp's doing okay for gold. He was over 1,000 up on our MasterCard lane economy snapshot there. He's getting pretty tanky on that Maokai. apaMEN might have a chance onto JimieN here. Knocked back, though, by the Thundering Blow. Won't find his all-in opportunity, but that Night Harvester picked up by Rest at this point is a huge spike for the Rumble.
They want to fight
CC someone up. They could go for a fight. Harp's charging forwards. Trying to get CC down. There's the equalizer. Big damage, but now a flank on the backside. It's a spread fight, but Steel's the first one to go down. Now answered as Aria got into the backline, but CFO looking good so far. And they've managed to group up. They've managed to find themselves in a front-to-back once more. ShiauC just hooks the wall and has to back away again. But Drake is down to 600 HP. Finally taken by Gemini. 6-4 on the scoreboard.
Oh,
absolute carnage as it's flash for flash in the mid lane.
apaMEN's trying to reset right now. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it out. It's actually 2 of them. That's 2 free kills. Harp looks for the turn.
He thought he was finding a pick, but he picked himself here, and now over the wall goes apaMEN. But now reinforcements from JimieN. There's one, and it could be another, because apaMEN, he's in no man's land. He's in the wrong territory. We've already got Shunn with 1 kill on the board, and he wants to make it more as well. apaMEN nowhere to go and taken down for his 2nd kill into Draven's pocket.
CFO destroying the team fight right there. It looked like a good start for DFM. You know, apaMEN coming in on the flank, but Shunn getting that first kill, even though he was shut down after it, was absolutely huge. Look at this, teleport coming in from behind, and the Jayce is a little bit late to the fight, going for the base initially. But here, Shunn just turns immediately onto Steel. There was no immediate follow-up on Shunn. Aria wasn't there quickly enough, so that's a big cash-in for Shunn. Yutapon obviously falls on the opposite side of the fight, and then where's your consistent DPS? It's a little bit tough without Yutapon there to sort of free hit, without cooldowns on the Ahri. And while they got close here, Gemini just flashing over the wall, dodging away from that Q3 from apaMEN. That was for sure a kill. If Gemini falls, maybe they can look for a little bit more, but the low HP members of Oysters just hunt down for a couple of extra kills on the back.
Yeah. The second Gemini gets away, that play goes from like, oh, they found a pick to, oh, this is completely doomed.
Yeah.
They both go down, and it turns into a bit of tempo there. But now DFM onto the Herald as we come back to live. 2,500 gold down, and the Herald will help to mitigate that somewhat if they can get it onto one of those tier 2s. Although,
yeah, they're going to
get through the tier 1s first.
Actually, the first turret of the game taking 17 minutes, and that is an exceptionally late first turret. Oysters taking that one, although, and maybe that ties into our prep, you know, delayed on the first turret, the slow early game, but no, Oysters have come in with 2 fantastic Dragon, well, the first one they just got for free off the timing, the second one, a very nice fight from them to secure.
It was Gemini, just about dodging, accidentally I guess, because I'm not sure he was aware that was coming. But look at the items right now. JimieN and Shunn, both on 2 items, and it's Jayce and Draven. Like, if there are 2 champions of the game that spike hard on 2 items, these are your picks right here. And almost stacked up on the Muramana there as well from JimieN, who's just going to finish off that tower in the top side. So I feel like the gold is in the right place in this competition for CF.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, all the damage from range, the physical damage is going to be there, and then the rumble, the little cherry on top is very nice for the Oysters. And honestly, just feel like they're winning on the map right now. It was a bit of a game of ping pong on the map, because DFN cashed in all of their priority to take the Rift Herald. CFO get both top lane and bot lane tower off of that, as well as a little incursion into that top side jungle. And CFO are going to win overall off of that play, taking the 2 turrets as opposed to probably just the one. The Herald's going to be able to secure you.
And I've just realized, looking at that graphic that popped up between our AD carries, it's another tournament where all casters, all analysts are lamenting because AD carry stats are going to be ruined by Senna. Once again, AD carries playing the support role. As the Herald charges down in the mid lane, but it's a 5-man stack to make sure that tier 1 stays standing. CFO not losing a single tower so far this game. Might be losing some lives here. Gemini engaged on, but he's pretty tanky. And ShiauC with a great hook to start onto Harp. And have to back away, and CFO, it doesn't even feel like CFO took damage.
Yeah, I mean, the last 3 fights we've seen from DFM, Aria has just not been with the team, right? With the turret dive, it was Gemini stuffing that engage. And then the last 2 fights, he just has not been in range to deal with whatever pick DFM is going for. So DFM lucky to get out there, just casting a few ultimates to try and survive. But Aria has to be more involved with the initial attempt from DFM, or they can't go in. This is what I was talking about, right? If Steel or Harp go in too early without Aria to be there, it's tough, but they're looking for the dive.
JimieN in trouble once again. The amount of times this man has been dived this game so far, and once again, there's just nothing he can do to survive the onslaught. The point-and-click CC, followed by CC, followed by CC. It's just unstoppable.
Is it because Aria was there? Is it because it was a 3-on-1? I don't know. Either way, DFM, they're securing it. And that's really all I want to see them do, is any play they want, it needs to be Aria sort of like leading that charge for the team, working with Steel. And that charm combo has to be there on the Twisted Advance or any of the YCC.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a great follow-up, but on top of that, I'm keeping my eyes on that Dark Seal that's in his pocket. It's now on 6 stacks. We're headed towards Medjai's territory here, and we all know what an Aria, what an Ahri can do with a Medjai.
All right, team fight time. We got a teleport into the mid lane from Aria. He wants to get involved immediately, but apaMEN is a little bit isolated from the team. They're just going to give the 3rd Drake in exchange for the mid lane tower. That was incredibly low after the Herald, but that's surprising because they got that kill on JimieN, but couldn't actually cash in on that 5 versus 4 off the base taken from apaMEN, off of them just spending too much time on the top side of the map. The timer didn't work.
It feels a bit rough as well because that's not just any old soul either. That's an Infernal Soul against Jayce and Rumble. Like, if they get an Infernal Soul in 5 minutes time, you're seeing 1 Shock Blast and an Equalizer landing on a Yutapon. He's gone. He's out of the game.
It's even better with like a Draven as opposed to a normal AD carry too, because Draven isn't building attack speed anytime soon. No. Just stacking up damage on damage. Hit me with that % multiplier. I'm going to feel very, very happy.
Yeah, this is going to be brutal if they can get that soul. 5 minutes time, DFM will have to answer. But for now, Baron up on the board, and you can see the vision battle begins, as it always does.
Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate, too, I feel, for Detonation FocusMe, it being the Infernal Rift. It's a little bit harder to set up picks on this map because of the open sight lines around red buffs. So it's hard to walk into that topside jungle, less brush as well, sort of close the gap and play inside of the Fog of War. And really, CFO can just walk around together as a unit, I feel, a lot of the time and not be too concerned about the heavy engage from DFM. At least that's how it's looked so far for the team. It's really important that DFM find ways to divide and conquer up CFO around the map, and that starts with vision inside the enemy jungle. That means taking the priority you have in mid lane, walking around, so you can see sort of Aria Steel holding hands together, walking towards the top side of the map. Will Jayce step up to push this wave? No, that guy's a little bit too smart for that, so instead we farm this this minion wave while Steel just guards that, so Aria can get the reset.
So we're getting towards a sort of quieter moment in the game now, because I think rightly so, the 2 teams are acknowledging that actually a mistake at this point in the game could be extremely costly. ShiauC looking for a hook there, but won't find Steel for himself. And our win probability powered by AWS looking pretty tasty right now for CFO, and rightly so with those 3 dragons stacked on up. In terms of gold, we're pretty close, but those dragons are worth so much more than just gold.
Yeah, it really puts a timer on things. DFM have to take the next objective fight around the Drake. Well, do they get, is there positioning on the map poor before that? Do they get picked, you know? Can CFO just try to start up the Baron and pull DFM off of that? Like, there's so many more options when you're the one on 3 that DFM just don't, frankly, have access to. Quick check-in on stacks right now. Yutapon up to 71. And because Shunn cashed in that Draven not so long ago, only 142 right there, but is not too far away from that 3rd item on the Draven. And that's going to just be a whole world of hurt. There's also Morellonomicon purchased for rest, and the Rumble pretty solid at applying that as well with all the AoEs you have in the kit, so that's really going to reduce the healing of the Senna and the Aatrox coming on in these team fights.
Yeah. And you can see already like a heavy presence towards the top side of the map here from DFM, and rightly so, because when you're running this kind of composition, you got to play around vision, right? You got to play around trying to find those picks. And like you keep saying, the Ahri really being the crux of that was so close to finishing a death cap there. Like, that's your way back in for DFM. Control this area and find those opportunities.
The tough thing is that's kind of the only bush they can play around for picks, the one they just cleared away the ward from. And we've already seen CFO been diligent when clearing that out on the re-entry. They do have a Farsight alteration as well on Shunn, so if they're ever in a tough position to approach that, they can spot that one out and then reclaim the territory with ShiauC and Gemini just being this giant, beefy wall to absorb all the CC.
Yeah, the other thing as well is they already got a pick from that brush earlier this game. Harp hid in that brush at the Herald play to find that pick onto ShiauC early on. So it's a question of, like, yeah, that theoretically can work, but it's like a fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, that's an issue from CFO right there.
That's the follow-up. Honestly, and CFO have been taking things calm. You might wonder, like, what are CFO doing? Like, DFM have just been trading push and bot, reset, push top, reset, push and bot, reset. CFO don't need to do anything. They are full-on chilling right now because Infernal Soul is up in 45 seconds. That's what they want Prio on. So they have 4 players in mid lane. DFM with the Prio from apaMEN, though, are bringing him up. So they're going to have 5 players on this wave hitting first. With that Prio, they need to be able to get vision on the bot side, but Rest has already beat him up here on the timing.
He has 30 seconds on that Drake. 30 seconds on the timer for DFM here. They can't afford to lose this soul. And CFO have control of the river right now, still trying to clear vision. But this is what we're talking about. DFM spent so long getting vision control of the Baron area, but they don't have control of the soul that's about to spawn.
Yeah, and if CFO just stays stacked, it's really hard for Aria to access the target she needs with the charm, which is Shunn and JimieN. Those are the players you got to be able to find. And we're actually just teleporting into mid. No flank from up. Oh, sorry, no, that's Harp coming on in there. Your support Maokai just TP'd in mid lane.
3-TP team. That's going to be confusing. But yeah, apaMEN getting a big push on the bottom side to find a way into this river, but Rest going to just fall in. Look at this damage coming out from Rest. There's apaMEN just trying to flip. What a prediction from JimieN. The sniper with the shock blast finds that kill and surely opens up for a soul.
That's just going to be a soul. Steel has to go for something. Can they push mid? Can they run over to the Baron? They can't get onto Baron fast enough. This Drake just got exploded completely. That is a disaster. You're playing against a carry top mid AD comp, and they just got Infernal Soul. Good luck.
And I mean, Rest has had a pretty quiet game so far, but suddenly we see the rumble damage come out from him, just shredding through apaMEN, and that's with apaMEN having a ton of MR.
It's so tough right now. DFM's best idea is, hey, we can actually step up to the Raptor Brush now and get vision in, but Gemini's respecting it too much, right? Like, maybe DFM can get 1 pick off of that play, off of trading the kill and the soul, but that is just an absolute disaster. They also don't do Baron fast at all, I don't feel. It's lethality Senna, right? She doesn't have a lot of gold with the support build, so it's just an item and a half. It is going to be a long time. You gotta get off this. At least they don't take damage because of all the healing of the Senna, but there's no way you can stick on to this.
If they can commit to that call, it's desperation stations at that point, right? Like they're committing to the fact that they are a soul down and they just want to try and find something. I mean, just take another look at it. apaMEN face checks in, but he just gets melted.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good play from Rest, right? Because previously, apaMEN, when they were all 5 around mid lane, he'd been able to walk through the river, and he was setting up, oh, I can group with the team, maybe I have a flank option. Rest, instead of going to the minion wave like apaMEN expects, is just sitting in the bush by himself. apaMEN thinks he has 5 more seconds before the rest of CFO can get there, but actually, that rumble beats the timing completely, and Steel might be in some trouble if he tries to clear these wards.
They found him. That's the jungler as well. Pulled back in. CC chain is there, but the health bar's getting low on the other side as well. Shunn has to turn golden here, and they dive on in. Harp the one to make it happen as apaMEN charges into the backline as well. Harp goes down as JimieN's arrived on the scene. It's a double, triple for him as he shreds those health bars. apaMEN trying to go old school, but he's taken down as part of a quadra kill.
JimieN absolutely tearing him up right there. It starts with the pick from CFO, but it looks like for a second DFM can turn it. That might just be all she wrote, though. Baron and option on the table. Look, the Maokai and the Aatrox just not around with the team, and JimieN isn't even here, but he's instantly ready on the TP. That was like 0.5 seconds of delay. So while yes, it looks good, watch him target out Yutapon. He's rooted up. He's not part of this fight. Just one-shots the Senna. And he's like, okay, I guess I have free reign in here. There's no cooldowns to be used. Aria's busy trying to kill that Sejuani. So this Jayce is just frontlining the entire time. What a monster as he was completely ignored from the team.
apaMEN so close to getting kills there, but the double stopwatch coming through from CFO, the cherry on the cake from that fight.
Welcome back to Pro Play. Here's double stopwatch.
Yeah, hope you didn't miss this one. That's Baron now taken, and suddenly CFO, everything going their way. I mean, this game has been their bread and butter, right? Surprising level of presence in the early game, considering this is a team that honestly, most of the time, play very slow. They have the 2nd longest average game time of anyone at Worlds, but when it comes to this point in the game, this is absolutely their comfort zone.
100%. I mean, just from how quickly JimieN was reacting on the teleports, how fast the team was ready to go for that. You know, Steel walks in division like, we're going for this. Not just the pick, but the Rumble ult is coming down solo onto the Vi because they just knew they had it. And DFM, they're trying to bunker here outside. Oh my word, the charm lands. That's damage.
Everfrost is there. He's got a GA. It's a lot used to find this one pick. Can they commit the kill? Can they finish him off? The answer's yes. Equalizer comes down. Time for an answer. Coming out from CFO, and they've got a CC chain of their own. Gemini charging forwards. It turns into a 1-for-1 here. CFO trying to get onto the tower, but I don't think they really have the range.
Yeah, apaMEN died on the bot side, so it's actually a 1-for-2. That was just completely off our screen with him falling there. Yeah, it's a plus 900 Gs for Aria, so that might end up being all right, all things considered, for DFM. But they're going to have to be able to stop this super minion push. The Baron buff minions, there's 2 cannons here, which are just going to destroy this turret. There's no chance. Yeah. No wave clear with this comp.
I would love to see what happens to apaMEN in a replay there. I don't know if we'll get chance though, because honestly, CFO looking kind of scary here. Still 10 seconds on the death timers. It looks like they are going to back away. They're not going to try and brute force things just yet.
I mean, hear me out. If you saw a giant oyster flying at you, I imagine that would be out of your comfort zone. You might be a little bit shocked.
I'd be feeling clammy, that's for sure.
Bot side, apaMEN tries to go on to ShiauC, who just tanks up, and then I guess Shunn just smashes him in the face. Yeah. Gemini actually uses the ultimate onto apaMEN just to make sure he couldn't turn it around onto Shunn. I think there might have been some more angles had Gemini not used that ult just for the insta-CC. They could have chased down for maybe some more kills, but at the end of the day, you protect your AD carry, you get the inhib off of it. CFO are completely in control.
Yeah, fantastic stuff from CFO. And at this point, you know, the Baron power play is basically over. The Red Bull Baron power play going to be about 3,000 gold, which totals now to 6,000 gold in their favor. They've got that Infernal Soul. The one stick in the mud here for CFO is Elder Drake comes up. In just under a minute's time, and in any game of League of Legends, no matter how far ahead you are, they manage to get that steal, everything can suddenly go real wrong.
I see what you did there. I really do. DFM jungler.
I'm trying my best not to say steal every sentence, but
he robs it. It's a heist. I like it. I'm just trying to give you ideas, because if you say he steals the dragon, I do think we have to like dock your pay in some way. That's just it's too free. It's too free.
Yeah, just as free as I'll be if I say it because of the dock pay.
Other good news for DFM, I'm really reaching. So everyone, we're going way down into the back.
100% win probability.
Yutapon is good at counting, and he's up to 110. If that number gets bigger, that's better. Will it ever be enough? I don't think so, but maybe.
I mean, if the game goes long enough, Senna is literally a 1v9.
Aria's not here, you can't fight!
What a hook onto Harp there. He has to flash, root it up. He has to use his ultimate as well just to deny any further follow-up, but that's not ideal. Harp now without his ultimate, without his flash, doesn't offer a lot to a fight.
Hey, Rest used the ulti too, though, so I think this trade of ulti might actually favor DFM a little bit. Problem is, they have no mid-prio, and they just sent 2 of their teleports into that bot lane. They need to start up this Drake, and they need to force the fight. There's going to be supers running into their base.
I thought JimieN was just going to run up mid there and try and end the game. Harp taking some chunks here. Rest on the front line. Ult still on cooldown for him, but
7k.
There's still some pretty good damage going down. 7k on the Drake is still looking for the engage, but decides against it in the end. Stopwatch out from Rest as now Gemini charges into the fray. Rest gets back to the rest of his team, but now everyone diving on in Steel. He's gone too deep though, and Gemini keeping the rest of his team at bay. Steel is down. That's the smite out of the picture, and CFO surely finish off the Elder. It's a double kill coming through for Shunn, and he'll turn it into 3. No, Rest denies it, but it will not matter. That's Elder, and surely game.
Just a dominant game 1 from CFO. They can run down mid, pick up that wave, the Elder on top of everything else. They just play that team fight so calmly. Like they're not even challenged whatsoever. Rest is inside of the middle of the pit, just baiting out everything, and now they're ready to deliver the final punch.
17-10 is our potentially final score. Could see a couple more kills coming through at the end here, but a fantastic start to the tournament for CFO, showing what the PCS second seed is capable of, showing us why they went to 5 games in their finals, finishing off DFM here in game number 1, and luckily for us, we get a best of 3. Luckily for us, DFM have a chance to fight back in this one, but CFO, a really confident start to their tour.
100%. It felt like everything kind of spiraled out of control after that one Drake fight, right, where Shunn gets the big cash-in on the Draven. The fight wasn't even that lopsided. I think it was a 1-for-2 favoring them, but then 2 more players from DFM get caught inside the enemy wolf camp. They end up falling. Another kill goes down to Shunn, and after that, just felt like the Drakes got stacked against them. DFM were never able to get control inside the enemy jungle. And that meant the fights, the picks were never going to find themselves.
And I feel like when you look at DFM in their domestic play, one of their biggest strengths was kind of a lot of fighting in the early game, building leads and then snowballing towards a victory. But CFO did a great job of kind of neutralizing a lot of that early game. Like the Sejuani pick, I think, was absolutely key in this composition to being able to just match the buy, make sure that all of these early ganks aren't going to lead to anything. And in fact, actually, CFO getting a lot of early ganks themselves, kind of mitigating that early lead that DFM like to get, and then just leading into a neutral game in the mid-game. That's their comfort zone.
Well played, CFO.
Like, fantastic gameplay coming out for them. Before we head to the break, let's take a look behind the scenes of our daily video teasers, thanks to the Oppo Cam.
Compare with me, you gon' look disheveled. Be not $1 million smile or a bet zone. 괜히 신경 좀 주세요, I would never. Extra bubbles in my champagne, sparkling chili. 기분 좋은 날은 애들 불러 get silly. Options in the corner, plotting hard, what's the dilly? 난 가진 자의 여유, super chillin' to the billy. On another level, levitating, yeah, yeah.
Bringing in a new roommate to save money, is that the plan?
Say hi to Glenn from work.
Yeah, I think I have a much better plan. We switched to my plan from Verizon.
That is a good plan. Glenn.
Get my plan starting at just $25 when you bring your own phones. Plus, save when you add perks like the Disney Bundle. It's your Verizon.
Flash, Aria could be stunned one more. Auto with the Conquest getting range. And Aria flashed on by JimieN, but he doesn't finish the kill. He's not tanking though. He gets it. No! Just on the edge of range.
Out already to be there. It's tough, but they're looking for the dive.
JimieN in trouble once again. The amount of times this man has been dived this game so far, and once again, there's just nothing he can do to survive the onslaught. But as apaMEN charges into backline as well, Harp goes down as JimieN's arrived on the scene. It's a double, triple for him as he shreds those health bars. apaMEN trying to go old school, but he's taken down as part of a quadra kill.
Welcome back to the analysis. Fantastic cast from MACH as well as Ender. And that little highlight reel package is a great introduction to our post-match. Let's start by the draft, talk a little bit about the Senna, the Maokai, the fact that the Maokai was ended up being flexed, swapped out to the Vi. Some question marks there. And we saw ShiauC on a hook champ. No one is at all surprised by that with an unironic Blitzcrank ban. Let's talk about the rest of the draft here, GB. I see some confused looks there.
Yeah, but we were watching this, and I think when we were watching it, we were kind of saying as well, this kind of looks like a draft from CFO where you expect you're going to be winning every single lane. It was very much out there. It wasn't fully like we're a poke comp, we're a team fight comp. It had a little bit of everything where I felt like DFM's comp was a bit more constructed with intent, at least from the purposes, the Maokai flex, the Vi and Ahri, old school counter now. Well, not that old school from this year in general. And it worked really well in the early game. It at least felt like DFM had a better idea of what they wanted to do with this draft.
Yeah, I liked the DFM draft. I thought the flex, like you said, with the Vi coming in was where it lost me a little bit. I'm like, ooh, what meta is this? Is this Spring with Vi, Ahri? You know, it's still a strong combination. They put a lot of resources towards mid lane, so they were executing on at least what the vision of the comp was, but it did feel like it kind of got outscaled as the game went on. As much as I loved the Senna coming into the bot lane, the supporting the Maokai to get more farm on that champion, I thought it was a cool idea, just didn't quite pay off.
Well, Mark, you talked about grouping up and putting some support there into that mid lane for Aria. Let's take a look at some of the clips, some of the roles there, and start by, again, it felt at times as though DFM were just camping mid. Almost the entire team was around.
I really think the DFM early game was superb and way better than I had expected. The 4 members just grouping up together again and again. By minute 10, they were pretty much all part of the kills that they had gotten, and they were out-rotating CFF throughout all of it, getting heralds here, making sure that JimieN couldn't play the game. He does outplay this with the Dustblade proc, but this does still go to show how much emphasis they're putting on this mid lane and willingness there to really sacrifice that bot lane prio and make it a mid lane prio instead.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool to see the attention that they had towards the mid lane, getting Aria ahead on one of his best champions, but then it did feel like they were sacrificing a lot to get there. They were big CS leads both on the top lane Rumble as well as Draven, and then eventually they were able to find kills at, I think it was the 2nd or 3rd dragon fight, and to be fair, they were stacking dragons well for CFO that whole time, so the goalie wasn't quite getting capitalized on enough.
And that's really it. Even watching that early game, you know, I was never really sold on DFM being able to take it all the way, because it was still some of the issues that we had seen from them when we were watching regular season. Getting ahead early, the individual skill from DFM, it's never really a question, but it's what they do with it. And going into the objectives, specifically that one of those Drake fights where suddenly everything turned around, where they had a lead, they could have played it out better, they had an easy to execute comp, but sometimes they just get over eager with that, they get split, and that's why CFO
I have to point out, just before this next replay, I explicitly asked Goldborg to say, I said to him, look, even though we think CFO is the better team, does this composition from DetonatioN give them enough safety barriers? Does the ease of execution work out? He flat out said no in less than half a second. Here's the replay of it. I mean, just, again, talk me through some of the execution here and why it was that Flying Oysters were so easily able to win.
Well, in the beginning, you can just see it's kind of split where Aria is in a position where maybe he can go for a flank, but they're not looking for it together. ShiauC even gets out of this alive, which, let's be honest, he should never do. They also turned in the beginning on Gemini on the Sejuani, which they couldn't blow up. And then when the TP finally, or the Aatrox finally joins the battle as well, it's so split. You have 2 people on the top of a river. You have Harp still leashing the Drake for some reason. He's not a jungle Maokai. It's still a support with no smite. And they just stick around. And even after this replay, they still stick around on the top side. They still get 2 more kills over. And yeah, some of the objective setup, some of the way they played out, it's just been, yeah, the bane of some of DFM's existence.
Definitely something that you hope to see leveled up in Game 2, but at least has been playing them all year. Just the fact that you saw Aria start on the left side of that fight, have to sprint all the way through the primary engage to meet up to try and finish off the Draven. It's like, yeah, you got it, but it took a lot of resources to do that.
I've got one more replay before we turn our attention to the next game, and thanks, every second counts, and thanks to the reliable Cisco network, JimieN predicts the Flash to take down apaMEN and secure the Infernal Soul. I mean, this was just a beautiful Flash predict, and the impact that it had really nailed the coffin shut for DetonatioN.
Yeah, I mean, it was just beautiful. It's a small thing like that. They get Infernal Soul off it, and while the early game was very much in Aria's favor with how DFM played around him, this late game was all JimieN on the Jayce.
Yeah, that's why I was excited that we was able to hype him up a little bit before Game 1. He is, though Shunn is a lot of the focus of the early game plans, often JimieN can be an absolute beast in these team fights, and he's pretty unfocused here, which is maybe a mistake given that he was already at 5 kills, I think, at this stage in the game. He picks up 4 more in this team fight, absolutely cleaning up and a huge performance out of him after taking a lot of attention in the early game. You can see how much 4% and team proximity that both these guys had. It was very much the focus of the early game plan, and he weathered that storm quite well from Aria.
Yeah, absolutely. You take a look at the damage per minute, it's still JimieN who tops it, despite the damage coming out from Aria percentage-wise, despite the forward that Aria had in the laning phase because he was so facilitated by his teammates as well. But it was a really exciting mid lane matchup. Aria was still playing very well. It wasn't really ever a question about the individual performance, but the team performance that really lost DFM that game.
Yeah, right now I have just heard that Picks and Bans is ready. Detonation FocusMe have selected red side going into game 2. So head back over to MACH and Ender.
Thanks very much, guys. Here we go for game number 2 of our series. CFO starting strong heading into the series. I mean, literally playing a blinder, like Goldberg was saying on the desk, literally drafting to just dominate every single lane. And DFM, a team that's built around getting ahead early. How do you get ahead early if you're behind in every lane?
Yeah, it almost felt like they drafted to not deal damage a little bit. I think that was really lacking. Obviously, the Ahri was very, very powerful, but wasn't really in the right position, I think, in a lot of the fights to follow up off of the CC. The Senna never fully came online in the damage department, which was a bit of a letdown. So I do hope we see some changes moving over to the red side. I will say it is also exciting that Yutapon played top lane all summer, switches back to AD carry, and he played support last game. So he's just doing it all. He's doing the world tour. So will he lock in jungle? Will he go mid lane? Probably not, but you never know.
I think, if I remember correctly, I had this written down for MSI. I think jungle is the only role he's not played competitively. He's played every other role in professional play over the course
Down
of his career.
0-1 at Worlds, that's the time.
It's, yeah, well, yeah. Hey,
guys, our prep didn't work. I'm playing jungle.
He's got time. Yeah, a tough showing from DFM at MSI as well. Coming into Worlds, I feel like this is a team that, you know, they've got the support from the fans at home. There's a lot of people cheering for them. We've got to see a little bit more on the Rift, especially when it comes to that early game. I'd love to see here in game number 2. I don't mind the things like the Vi Ahri. I think that's great in terms of the kind of personality of this team. It fits beautifully, but we need to see a bit more scrappiness in the early game.
Yeah, I think it was a little bit more to do with how they actually played inside of the game. Because you remember, like, they had the good Rift Herald roam that they got a couple of picks off. They went for that crazy mid lane dive that would have been perfect had Aria not gotten stuffed by that Sejuani ult. And then there's a stopwatch and a Duskblade. So there were a few things that just went wrong that could have gone absolutely the other way. And then we're looking at a very different game. Still not easy to close by any means, but now we do get to see what the shift is going to be switching sides. These teams don't really care about what side they're on. It's still all the same bans, although CFO will be targeting away that Senna.
Yeah, I can't say I'm too surprised. I feel like the Senna could have become problematic in a more passive game. CFO taking that off of the board, just trying to get back to normal bottom lanes as the Orianna band as well. So things like the Azira, things like the Jarvan open. It looks like that Maokai that we saw doing quite a lot of work, at least early on in the previous game, could very well come through.
Yeah, I think I still like the Maokai here. Of course, the Maokai did end up swapping down onto the bot side and just sort of like sustained through that laning phase very nicely. But expectation here should absolutely be that is going to be locked into the jungle for Gemini. The question then, do we just match the Sejuani again? Do we look for something maybe a little bit more aggressive? There are options here for Steel if we don't want to just match tank v tank in the jungle.
See what they're going to go for as I feel like your first duo can be extremely powerful, and with the Xayah hovered, you could very well see the Rakan there just alongside it. Solid bot lane duo, fantastic later on in the team fights as well.
Yeah, DFM were also perfectly happy to, we'll talk about the Blitzcrank if that gets locked in. That's a ShiauC classic. But I think DFM were perfectly happy to sort of delay the picks for Steel and Aria in the last draft until second rotation. So taking a power bot lane here in the Xayah Rakan, especially when you see like Maokai ult on the other side, Rumble ult. Now, like, this is a very strong top side map, tons of range, even though they're all like melee champions. The ability to influence you from very far away is going to be quite powerful.
I mean, it just feels like 3 outright power picks for CFO, right? And power picks that work together really well on top of it as well, like the Maokai ult with the Rumble ult. Obviously, Maokai Jayce, we all know it's a fantastic combo. apaMEN going to go for the Aatrox once again. I mean, the laning phase didn't go that bad, considering it's really not a great matchup. Like, he managed to stay relatively even in farm. and get towards the late game. It's just the whole team is too far behind for him to really get into those fights.
I think also like the Aatrox is just a long time, you know, comfort pick for apaMEN too. Remind you, if you are just jumping in, apaMEN has not played professionally since 2021 and did not play in the summer split for DFM. Yutapon was playing top lane. apaMEN comes in to the top just for Worlds here, with Yutapon swiping back to the bot side. But yeah, the Aatroxes, the Nars, the Renekton's are sort of what I was expecting apaMEN to be playing, and that is absolutely the read from here.
So Ezreal taking off the board, Nocturne as well. A bit of focus towards that jungle coming out from CFO, not too surprising. The real question to me, we already saw the Blitzcrank hovered. Do you ban the Blitzcrank, DFM? Do you, are you willing to risk going up against ShiauC's Blitzcrank, ShiauC's unironic Blitzcrank, as it's been called today? There is no ban, ironic or not. And so ShiauC has that potentially available.
Yeah, the Nocturne might catch you a little bit by surprise, but this was the pick that still actually locked in Game 5 back in the finals to a win. That was next to an Ahri in the mid lane. So something that could have worked here for Detonation FocusMe, and actually would be pretty annoying if you just drop that ultimate in the middle of a team fight when Rumble lays down the ult, and all of a sudden you just can't follow up and deal any damage on all those targets being hit. So yeah, the big engagers, the Nocturne, the Sejuani, Vi again, I'm now looking at. Does Steel just lock that in once more if they want to take the Vi Ahri? Because that is, it's a very similar style of comp, I think, especially on that top side. Jarvan could be interesting, though. It's a little bit tough for Jayce and Rumble to play the game. No easy way to jump on out of there, out of that Cataclysm. So that's going to be the lock for Steel.
We'll see how CFO are going to respond to it. Like you say, Jarvan can do well into these champions. Yeah! Gonna go for the Kaiser, and instantly ShiauC locks in his signature. He's been known for this pick for years, and I'm telling you, once we get onto that rift, just keep an eye on that player. His name even looks like a Blitzcrank hook. Like, he was born to play this champion.
I absolutely love it. The Kaiser Blitzcrank, not something you see locked in every day, but hey, you land a hook, the knockup, you are hyper stacking that Kaiser passive. That is insane burst damage, and Aria is taking it all into his own hands there with the Akali coming in last. This is like a time machine comp back to 2018. The solo lanes, the Zyra Khan on the bot side, like, you could have literally picked that up from 5 years ago and you wouldn't have surprised me.
I mean, it feels scrappy, doesn't it? This comp from DFM feels like it wants to get in and fight you, and like, that's kind of what we want from DFM. That's exactly how we'd love to see DFM play, so I'm excited to see it. And Aria, like, fantastic game from him in the previous one. Like, so many great charms, so many great moments. Now on a pick where you have pretty much maximum available skill expression, I'm here to see it.
He was so far up last game, but the coordination between him and the rest of the team was a big weakness. That has to be locked in. That has to be perfect, right? Who you're deciding to delete in a fight with that Akali. It's going to be a big focus from DFM in this game if they want to force us into a Game 3 versus CFO.
We'll see if they can find it. CFO 1-0 up in this series. They're feeling good. And I got to say, they've got plenty of power picks in their composition. This Jayce looked amazing for JimieN. I mean, we saw the flash prediction on the Shock Blast. We saw so many great moments from him across the course of the game. The Rumble as well. I mean, both of those solo ladies looking really good in one specific play where they picked apaMEN. But we'll see how they're going to be able to use these power picks and whether or not DFM can challenge them in this early game.
Here we go. Game number 2 coming in. Top side of the map looks very similar to game 1. Bot lane, a completely different story. Lovers duo flying on in for DFM. We'll see what they can do with a little bit more power on that bottom side of the map. Eyes also out for Steel in the early game. I think in game number 1, Gemini was beating him to the punch on a lot of plays. He was playing reactive as opposed to active. Now on the Jarvan, you're coming online at level 2, so there's angles to look for an early flash and then repeat punish into a lane.
We'll see what they're going to do is, again, this kind of early tiptoeing around, wanting to get a bit of vision as, there we go, first strike cashed in. Massive gold lead for CFO of 6 Gs right here. But DFM, they've got 4 players in tow. Gemini's got to be a little bit cautious as Harp's still in the area. This could go sideways. I think he'll be okay. Yeah, Harp decides, yeah, this is not a fight I want to take.
Yeah, nothing really to be done off of that one. And honestly, in terms of like bot lane as well, Yutapon not being required to leash or anything is going to be able to get a quick push down there. Nice trade from JimieN, but Aria not able to find that second Q. So JimieN just going to feel very nice in lane, transforms, so gets a little bit of extra damage on that auto. Aria will have to sustain, but like I was talking about on the bot side of the map, very expected normally in the Xayah versus Kai'Sa matchup that Xayah can just sort of, maybe even take W at level 1 and fast push that wave with the feathers. But with the Blitzcrank especially, that's the one. Been a while.
He's called ShiauC.
You're not going to be getting
Blitzcrank, ShiauC, either one of those words will work. Oh, and you can already see the angles he's looking for, right? Try to get just on the edge of that minion. But before we get too hectic in this game, don't forget to connect your League of Legends account with Prime Gaming to grab the exclusive experimentation emote. Then once you grab that, you can raise your dongers all day long.
Wait, that's the guy from Arcane. Oh, nice hook.
Oh, the hook under the tower Harp. Takes a tower shot for it. Luckily for him, he's on Rakan, so he's going to be okay, but even still...
if ShiauC was level 2, he would have not been okay. That would have been some big trouble with a little knock-up there, just interrupting the dash. But that's honestly how a lot of these hook matchups go. You lose the push level 1, but even if you're down a level, you land a hook under tower, you get that poke down, you're going to feel very, very happy. So that's already one potion burned through from Harp on the bot side of the map, although, as you can see, Yutapon just stacking up those minions.
Yeah, it certainly is. JimieN will be able to...
got denied.
It'll be okay. It'll be okay. I try not to focus too much on cannons in pro players. Oh no! Just as we say it, just as I say, I'm not going to focus on it.
We don't have Senna, we don't have Draven anymore. So like, what else is there to count? I don't count stacks, so now I'm going to count -1, -2, whatever comes after 2. Someone will tell me eventually.
I think it's 3. I believe it's 3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those, you can never be too careful. Maths keeps changing these days. Well, or at least my memory is. But we'll have to see how this top matchup is going to go. Because I feel like apaMEN, we kind of hyped him up a little bit. Coming in, fresh from 2021, coming into the World Championship. I feel like there's quite a bit of pressure on his shoulders. Shunn does get rooted up. He'll be okay. And actually, knock up onto ShiauC as well. This is a good bit of laning coming out from DFM, getting some massive pressure in the bottom lane.
I love a Rakan that'll play on you're playing versus Blitzcrank. You're like, actually, I'm completely safe. I just, W1 in, E on out, just gliding around there. And if you can ever, smash the Blitzcrank's mana pool by baiting him into using a hook there, you're going to be in a very nice position. That's actually both pots burned through from ShiauC, so only the biscuits to work with. And Shunn's just going to take a quick little reset while ShiauC looks for gank in mid. Walks up the ward, though, so surely Aria can't die to this.
Emphasis on the word surely there, because I've seen it before. Maybe not from Aria, though. I feel like Aria having a really good day today. The Ahri looked fantastic in game number 1. Couldn't quite convert that into a win. I'll be hoping to do so here in the second game. DFM, they would desperately love to get a game on the board. Unable to do so at MSI this year, and they'll be looking to have a little bit of a better performance here. Luckily for them, we've changed the format. It's double elimination. They get another chance after this one. But they'd love to not need that second chance. They'd love to have their first chance first.
It is preferable to win games, I think is the moral of the story here.
Yeah.
Winning, generally considered good.
Wise words.
What can I say? I'm a master of it. Honestly, I feel like it's pretty hard for either team to get much done. We didn't see Steel look for any sort of early flash, and a lot of times it's hard to follow up on these lanes to burn a flash unless maybe you go top side where the Rumble's really pushed forward and apaMEN can try to burn something, but it's just bot lane prio switching back against Harp and Yutapon right now.
And I will say, this is the expected game pace from CFO. Like, this is their standard game pace. Quite often you see in the early games back in PCS that...
yes, talk about the chill pace.
The second I say that, ShiauC charges in. It's going to be the target onto Harp, and his first blood instantly. He's just deleted. Yutapon, what a route, though! What a turnaround from Yutapon back into AD carry, and CFO know about it.
See, we know how to get action going. Just say, hey, nothing's gonna happen right here. CFO really committing for that kill, but Steel is there. Trade on back. As a matter of fact, Shunn getting sent back to base is pretty unfortunate, although 2 tanks down the bot side, they're just gonna hold that way for as long as possible. That'll be a lot to cash in for Shunn.
Yeah, JimieN low on mana, otherwise he'd maybe have an opportunity in the mid lane there, but no.
No.
ShiauC, I mean, what can you do?
Guy, you were supposed to hold the wave. Jungler takes the cannon minion, then lets 3 die to the tower.
Look, it is hell. It was hell, ultimately. Shunn's managed to get there back in time. Should be able to hold this wave a little bit longer as well. That should just about freeze as Harp and Steel, in fact, Steel, just returning to the bottom lane once again. Sweeper there. Gemini will be spotted, but the sapling comes on in. And that's going to be full information now for both teams. So no play should come through, although maybe up towards the top side. Rest has that ultimate available. Just going to be poking apaMEN under the tower.
Yeah, Rest actually switched to teleport. He had Ignite in the last game. I think after realizing, hey, I wasn't really playing for kills in lane, and it was really nice with all the teleports going around the map. Just trying to match that a little bit more. But as far as things are concerned, I feel like if Steel just hovers bot lane kind of permanently, it really neutralizes what CFO can do. You know, even if you're landing a hook, Steel's going to be there. Yutapon has priority in this matchup regardless, so pretty simple to just play for Drake. After the kills were traded on the bottom side of the map, Gemini is just going to keep farming up here and covering, make sure that any dives can't happen, because now that Steel and Harp went on that walkabout inside the enemy jungle, you know that's something they can continue to look for. Whenever they have the shove on the bot side, Harp can move up, play for a little bit of vision, and make it impossible for a repeat visit from Gemini.
On top of that, it just makes a ton of sense when you've got an Aatrox up in the top lane that's against the Rumble. You've got an Akali that realistically wants to get out of mid lane and scrap. You've got a Xayah that you can stack up. Why would you not focus on the bottom lane? Great counter gank here. ShiauC starting this one up. I mean, the speed at which they kill Harp, very impressive.
Yeah.
But then great answer. The root, beautiful.
I wonder, I feel like Harp could maybe play things a little bit slower, like Steel is coming on the way, keep them interested, and Harp just sends it. It works, they're able to trade it back with the feathers, but maybe could have slowed things down just ever so slightly. But that's what I'm talking about with the burst between the Blitzcrank crowd controls, hyper stacking, the Kai'Sa passive. That is going to be an insta one-shot whenever you're grabbing a squishier target.
Yeah, Umbral Glaive picked up as well by Shunn at this point, so he's feeling strong in this game, but DFM grouping up top to get that Herald once again. And
CFO learned their lesson. Yeah. We're not going to fight that again.
Yeah, this is the repeat of last time, except like you say, this time they're not going to walk into the brush. This time they're not going to contest without their team nearby.
Yeah. Unfortunately, because Shunn and ShiauC still walked mid, they don't just have the insta-push on bot side, so by the time Yutapon and Harp get down here, they're going to fully pick up all those minions. Woo. Nice little attempt there. Getting the execute and the hook to come in, but yeah, no minions really denied from Yutapon, so it's dead even CS, mid, bot, top lanes where it's really opened up. Rest with that prio and junglers being very busy on the bottom side of the map is being so annoying. Cancels the reset on Steel. He's got Herald, so it's not a really big deal, but it's just doing really nicely for himself on the top side. We didn't see it.
Luckily, CFO didn't see it, because if they did, I think ShiauC flashes on that play, honestly. That's a free kill onto Harp if they knew about it, but it wasn't on vision. Harp will get away with it, but that's one of those, that's what we call in the UK a squeaky bum moment, where it's like, you're Harp in that situation, you know those buttocks clenched as soon as he misclicked that W. He'll be okay. He walks away with his life, and it's only 1-1 on the scoreboard. But DFM, I'm a little concerned about that fact. I feel like we need to start to see skirmishes now. The Akali, level 9, you've got your boots in. Obviously, you'd like to get to that first item, but we've seen Akali's pop off before first item before. It's a champion that, with setup from things like a Jarvan, you'd love to get into a scrap.
Yeah, I'm kind of eyeing the Drake in 2.5 minutes time, because it's not a problem that they're not like dominating just yet, but like you're saying, yeah, the skirmish in the next few minutes going to be a big deal, whether or not that is around an objective like the Drake, the Herald, or just, you know, getting vision inside the enemy jungle and setting something up. It's important to note it is the Umbral Glaive build that's been catching some popularity for Shunn's Kai'Sa down on the bottom side of the map, so really big damage on that Q as Rest just gets a little bit of poke and insta-push the wave. He wants to take an easy reset for himself, I would imagine.
He wants to take a rest, if you will.
I've
just got to get out of my system, you know? I've got to get out of my system.
I wonder if he saw Steel on the bot side and thought, if I get a fast push here, I can auto the tower a few times and look to chunk out for an early play. That would be an idea of like going for the insta-push, as you know you can't get ganked, so you can just disrespect the lane almost entirely. It could have also just been a little bit of poke there, because it did do about 150, 200 damage onto apaMEN, who's been completely stuck underneath his tower.
Yeah. And, I mean, either the overlay's broken or his ult is back up again, so low cooldown at this point. ShiauC gonna get CC'd up. He's got the silence, though, and actually gets out with his life. And now Shunn trying to get the damage down, but Cataclysm keeps him in the play. Killer Instinct over the Cataclysm, so he will get out with his life. But CFO trying to make these plays happen, it's not quite working out for him.
Yeah, maybe they think with the Umbral Glaive having the item advantage there is better, but after the burst damage comes in, it seemed like Yutapon was just eating up there with the damage from the Feathers reigning supreme. Now Herald dropped from the bot side too. That should be 2 turret plates if they get some auto attacks down here as well. So nicely done. This bot lane prio really working for DFM, opting in, saying, hey, you can pick the Blitzcrank. That is absolutely no problem. We're just going to take prio in this matchup. A completely different look to game number 1, where they were just content to farm up and stack up on the Senna Maokai.
Yeah, it's one of the, I feel like they've drafted this composition. It's like, it's okay if you hook us because we want to be in your face. That's our comfort zone.
Yeah,
Please
it's like a little public transport system. You just hop on the Blitzcrank train and all of a sudden you're in Shunn's face.
Oh, fantastic. We'll see what ShiauC can get done, though, across the game. I like that we've seen a lot of attempts from ShiauC, right? We saw the pick onto Harp. We've seen him going towards the mid lane a couple of times. That control ward getting some big value here.
Step in the bush!
Harp knows exactly what's going on. They could set up a play.
Yeah, ShiauC saw him walk in here. Does he just go for the blind hook? Oh, if he'd gotten 1 second sooner.
He
should have just known.
And why didn't they read their minds?
Why can't he just see
I mean, look, we've seen plenty of mind control over the last couple of years of League of Legends. I don't see it being out of the picture at this point. As vision around the dragon comes up. You mentioned this dragon a couple of minutes ago as a potential catalyst here for DFM.
But also just how annoying is it to be DFM? You go on this cycle off a reset, you put down vision inside the enemy jungle. Thank goodness they still have that control ward down. But that's actually going to get spotted because Shunn is going to walk straight on past it, and he's got Umbral Glaive, so it's impossible to have any vision. ShiauC not going to waste his time looking for the recon. But yeah, how do you have any vision control against, the double sweepers coming in, control ward purchases on everyone from CFO and the Umbral Glaive? It's going to be tough to re-clear this river.
So here's control wards coming through as well. Vision will be cleared. DFM, I say they'd like to move in, but it's a bit risky, and it's always risky to play into darkness when Blitzcrank is on the enemy team. Dragon started, but Steel has vision of the area for the time being. Gemini could just pop his ult here to try and brute force and engage as Harp sidesteps the hook. But ultimately, it's a Drake take, and Gemini will walk away. Bit of damage onto these sideline towers, but realistically, not that much gain from the side of DFM.
I don't hate this, though. CFO were trying to set up a little answer to the play, and they catch Steel.
They read him like a book. Steel is gone. It's another kill for Shunn. I love the blast cone play, the creativity there from CFO.
CFO are so active. It's a really good look from them, matching everything. And that's after I thought it was a nice response from DFM. The fight was really tough because they didn't have vision, so apaMEN will get a turret plate topside. They'll burn the TP on rest, and Yutapon has the full push bot. They're looking for the fight.
ShiauC rooted up, has that mana shield, gets the knock up onto Yutapon, and Shunn's untouched so far. That's the Feather Storm down. Surely Shunn can finish the kill onto Yutapon here. The flash for the feathers, but he doesn't find the root. And now Shunn chasing for more onto Harp.
Yutapon's so close on those feathers, but not quite at the end of the day. Gets the kill, but now it's a full wave lost to that bot side tower. And CFO take all the momentum away from DFO. The dragon play into the response in bot lane was just perfect.
Tough situation now for DFM, a team that realistically they want to be finding these glitches. They started this play.
Yeah, so Shunn thinks the bush is clear because he just sent the W out into it. That's a really nice play from DFM, but Gemini is just babysitting down here. I'd be mad if I was Yutapon and can't quite find it on the flash. Shunn also had a nice response there. I don't think it ended up mattering, but the ultimate to reposition and dodge away from the feathers is exactly the right idea.
I just love this read onto Steel. It's so great. The fact that you could see them about to blast go and they're like, wait a second, Steel could be here. They could be trying to set up the dive. They go as a 3, and it pays dividends. Beautiful stuff from CFO. And now they'll get a Herald off the back of it as well.
Yep. And with moving their duo into the mid lane as well, now it's turned around. They can get prio in mid lane really, really easily for themselves. More than happy to send JimieN down onto the bottom side of the map. And CFO, kind of their mantra in game 1 was take the fights around objectives. Gemini was very active in the early game, but then between objectives, they would, play a little bit more controlled, just full vision control inside the rivers, make sure DFM couldn't really set anything up onto them. And then when it came to their objective setup, always grouping with 5, always with prio through mid lane into the dragon. It was very nice.
Hook through onto Steel, and he's just gone. He's just one-shot JimieN.
walk straight over.
Has that lethality as ShiauC actually got the kill from that one. Harp forced to flash. He's in the back of the pit on his lonely Onsome, rooted up, knocked back. ShiauC is here to find the hook. Is it on cooldown? Must have been on cooldown for just another couple of seconds.
That's tough. Steel and Harp looking for another, you know, invade option, whether it's a pick or vision, doesn't matter. Harp and Yutapon, we'll keep our eyes on them, but this fight not going to be good for them.
Is it me or if we swap to Jayce AD carry? Like, JimieN and ShiauC have just buddied up, just running around the map together.
Yeah, Kai'Sa's a mid laner too, it makes sense.
That's true, that's true. Double Duskblade as well, now locked in. Rest has that Night Harvester. We've all seen what that spike can do for a Rumble. We all saw what happened to apaMEN last game when the items came on through for Rest. Things are feeling pretty good for any PCS fans at home right now.
Walking over a ward. There's no sweeper, and JimieN was just reading that, you know? It was walking bot side to pick up the big wave, but as soon as you see him on the vision, can instantly path up there and catch that play in transition. And DFM, if they want to go for looks like that, first of all, you need to be able to like sweep through, make sure there's not vision, but between the Jarvan and the Rakan, is that enough damage to actually kill anyone? I don't think so. I don't think so. Pretty sure like Aria needs to be involved in that in some way. You have to have a third player in a look like that or it's just not going to work.
And speaking of Aria, he's had a very quiet game so far. Farming up with Storm, fantastic. He's got that mythic. We talked, oh no, another hook. The silence is there as well. ShiauC with his second kill of the game. Finding another pick, finding another moment, and finding a window into the Dragon potentially for his team.
And every single hook from the Blitzcrank means you're just getting a fully isolated cast of the Acathian Rain on the Kai'Sa, and that's the huge lethality build. That is so much damage.
It's just dawned on me what the C in ShiauC stands for. It stands for Crank. We got ShiauCrank
the ShiauCrank
on the scene, and he's making it look fantastic. 100% kill participation so far in the Blitzcrank.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, they're going to be able to get this Drake, certainly. You'd imagine. DFM have the cooldowns, but do they have the items? I'm not so convinced. Maybe if they could set up some kind of a pick onto Shunn here with ShiauC showing on the bot side of the map. That's a Hex Splash over. Aria's in trouble.
Oh,
straight up the sky.
Silence turns invisible, but JimieN still getting some big damage down. TP's come through. Great little knockback on the quickness. And Harp gets no value out of his ultimate. Now Rest wants a little bit more. Equalizer available. Just slams it onto Aria to get a bit of damage down. And hey, honestly, you're happy with that 100 gold from the first strike. It's still a win.
Just cashing in. The chief financial officers are making it rain here on Summoner's Rift. The ultimate plus Herald in mid. They're not even going to catch anyone with the ult. Maybe could have used that straight up through mid to isolate them off the tower, but with 4 players around mid, JimieN on the move as well. This one's going down, and Yutapon has to ult out of the hook.
And the ShiauCrank forcing an ultimate now as JimieN found a 1v1 and just decimates apaMEN, sends him back to 2021, and Steel has to flee for his life.
The shock blast, I don't know if any of you saw it, but it was just narrowly avoided by Steel. That would have been the extra cherry on top. Yeah, you can kiss that dragon goodbye. CFO taking that one with ease.
And I mean, we got to comment on the sheer confidence that CFO are playing with here. They've shown up to play today. You know, second seed from PCS, 5 games in the finals. We keep on saying this, but like, now coming into play-ins, this doesn't look like a team that's nervous, that's panicking, that's not sure how to... Like, this looks like a cool, calm, collected, well-drilled squad.
I mean, I think Gemini's pathing in the early game has been lovely. The influence he's had over the map, their setup for picks and objective fights also has just been absolutely gorgeous.
Is it me, or did the ward see Rakan, but Rakan didn't see the ward there? That was... I don't know if that's just a replay bug.
I'm going to be honest, I have no idea.
Kind of funky.
I'm not going to lie to anyone and pretend like I know. Here's the shock blast, by the way. Oh, never mind.
It's hard to say whether
I'm not lying.
Like a
I promise. I promise there was a shock blast that almost got it.
Yeah, I saw it. Don't worry. Yeah, fantastic stuff, though, from CFO. They're in a great spot, and you got to feel this is a great show of confidence for them. A lot of people at home that have got PSG winning the pick'ems feeling a little bit nervous watching the series because suddenly CFO might just be that contender from the PCS, but there might be a reason that they went to 5 games with PSG.
And look, if ShiauC's going to have the Blitzcrank and look like this, you got to be happy with the performance. I do think it is important to contextualize the roster they're playing versus, though. DFM, long-standing, just champions of Japan as a region.
Oh my God. He just don't miss. And JimieN has been found on the side lane. Finally, a shutdown over to the
they're
side
just
of
going
DFM,
Baron.
but I don't know if 600 gold is worth the Baron.
Yeah, but there's no teleports on the two soul laners that just got the kill on the bot side. That was Aria teleporting in. It's just Yutapon and Harp trying to stall things out, but it's already down to 5k.
Harp and Yutapon need some absolute heroics. Dashes away from the hook, 2k on the Baron. Baron's going to be taken. Can you get any kills? You're in a 2v4 though. This is surely unwinnable for them. Harp is down already. Yutapon having to use that ultimate. Now an equalizer comes on through as Shunn dives onto apaMEN. This is a bloodbath, and DFM, they're just not having a good time anymore. Aria trying to get onto Shunn, trying to find an assassination of his own, but he's knocked up and should be taken down. The Q can't quite finish the kill, but ShiauC can! It's ShiauC to the rescue!
It's just lights out from CFO. ShiauC, hook after hook after hook. Shunn repositioning inside the team fight. Just wonderful stuff from the team. And it all starts with JimieN down here on the bottom side. That's a teleport straight onto a minion. At the same time, the pick happens on the top side. So Aria thinks that he's okay to go for this play because we've got 3 players and our jungler alive top side. Surely they can't go for the Baron flip, but then steal once again on Vision. And that has been the story of this game. Steel can't go anywhere without being seen. CFO just look like they have hacks on because the enemy jungler is permanently lit up.
It's too beautiful. And ShiauC he just doesn't seem to miss these hooks in the fights. Like consistently finding his target. And then Aria, I respect the attempt to go for Shunn here. Like, you've got to make something happen. You just lost Baron. But again, ShiauC arrives, flashes for the knock-up, and then when Aria tries to go back in, just bopped.
He just
straight
cancels
bopped.
it. Oh man, the E follow-up not gonna work there. Now ShiauC just playing inside the fog of war again, waiting for that moment. When's it gonna be? There's also a Hex Splash online. You don't want to clear that ward!
God, not again. It's happening again. apaMEN's been found, and the ShiauC comes out on top once more. Okay, Killer Instinct's on cooldown. I thought for a second we were going to see Shunn fly into the enemy base.
No.
Again, he just can't miss. He simply cannot miss. He doesn't know how.
Xiao's just this little rat sitting inside the topside jungle. Hook after hook after hook coming out of the fog of war. You think you're fine, and then all of a sudden, the little mouse hole opens up. You get dragged through it by a giant robot arm. It's just disgusting. And he's looking for more. He doesn't even have vision. That's just silly. He's a little silly goose.
Imagine if he hits that. Like, that's like, we're winning this game. I'm getting my montage mode. Because he finds a hook. Yutapon happens to be going there. Like, that's the game won.
What's better, the cross-map Ash arrow or the Blitzcrank hook with no information?
The Hex Splash blind hook. Steel charges it onto JimieN and kind of just gets bodied. I don't know about that one, Chief.
The poke coming in. We're just waiting for the Shock Blast combo. Oh no, DFM already been safe when they're running with all the range that CFO have. Prio and topside, at least there's no mid-wave here yet, so they can try to respond, but no, if Baron creeps, it's not gonna happen. Aria lives to see another day, just barely.
Toying with the idea of going in for this one. Aria's there with the Proto Belt, but oh, the Everfrost almost locked him up on the equalizer there. Aria has to use the Zhonya's just to keep himself safe here. And the poke coming out from the Kai'Sa is really kicking in as well. There's plenty of AP in that build at this stage. Aria's low. Featherstorm. Shunn dives into the backline, and he's got the dust plate, so he gets away with it as well. The snipe is just a millimeter wide. CFO, they're straight up flexing on DFM right now. This is a masterclass, and it's beautiful to witness. JimieN dived on by Steel, but the Nexus towers are getting low. apaMEN desperately diving forwards, using his ultimate to buy space for the squad, and he might just have kept this game alive.
CFO making this look like an ARAM, the way they're just walking straight down the map as a team playing poke, playing Blitzcrank hooks, and DFM just completely scattered. No. Okay. I was about to say, those recalls are about to get canceled, and there's about to be a hook straight out of that brush, so good thing they used the far side alteration, but now you don't have that again, and you don't know where this Blitzcrank is.
You know, until he literally had vanished off my screen, I was so ready for ShiauC to go for a hook there. They are going to reset. Drake is up on the map, so they move on to get towards top point.
DFM, no chance to leave their base and fight for it. At this point, best option for DFM is, hey, there are super minions coming in top lane and mid lane. That means we get a lot of experience really, really fast. Cannon minions every way, big EXP off of those supers.
That's the only chance they have. And again, I am full on coping. They are down 13,000 gold. But that's the only thing you can tell yourself, because as DFM, you're already down 1-0. You are looking like being put on your last legs here in the tournament. Not over if you lose this series, but there's no more breathing room after that.
Certainly isn't. But CFO, I mean, I'm so pleased to see the performance they're coming in with and the sheer calm with which we're witnessing it. Like, they know what they're doing. They've got comfort picks. And also, ShiauC kind of reminding everyone, look, they didn't guys, they didn't ban the Blitzcrank. Like, there is nothing ironic about those bans anymore. Like, it's straight up like, you have to respect this, or you have to have a plan on how you're going to deal with it, because he's just an uncontainable monster. Is Gemini going to drop the ult? Looking for a dive behind the tower.
TP flank, but they're just going into your base.
And now a hook off the back of it as well. It's a beautiful little combo, and now DFM, they try and find something.
Aria's coming from behind.
Aria finally arrives, but he's 1v5. Yutapon alongside him, though. ShiauC wide on the hook. Shuriken lands. Do you really want to go in on that? Yes, you do, because look at the damage coming out of Yutapon here, but JimieN lives anyway. They are unstoppable. They are indomitable. They've gone 2-0 in their first series at Worlds, and they are here to make a statement in 2023.
CFO, all right. Just dominant in this second match. You know, game one took it slow, played the objectives. Game two, anything but. From the early gank down on the bot side to then just rolling over DFM with every single skirmish. This is a team that plays together so nicely across the map.
And I feel like, you know, this is a team that were coming in as the second seed. They wanted to prove that they're more than that. They wanted to prove that, you know, they may have lost that final, but it was close. They might as well be a second first seed from PCS with how that final went. And I think they've really proven that here. You know, coming in once again, this is not their first international, and it doesn't feel like their first international the way they're playing.
No, absolutely not. I was really impressed.
It does the way that they're lighting up on stage.
Yeah. The walkout's also a little bit of a letdown. It was a little serious for my liking, but hey, serious walkout, serious playing the server. It all lines up for them. On the opposite side, DFM, disappointing way to start it off. Of course, with apaMEN coming back in and Yutapon swapping back to the preferred position of AD carry. We hadn't seen this roster yet play professionally, and that is a big hurdle they have to get over. And now they are going to be sent down with it all on the line in the games to come.
Yeah, into that lower bracket. We'll see if they could survive.
Was that the little Naruto run? Was that what he was trying to go for?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I thought it was like a bit of a roar at the camera, but you know what?
Oh, the Yankos. Ah, yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Like
oh, yeah, maybe it was Yankos.
Yeah, it was like if Yankos, instead of being a lion, was like a little house cat.
Yeah.
It was a really nice roar. Yeah.
Great to see, though, that not only CFO looking fantastic in the game, they're starting to feel it on the stage as
like
well
right when we ask for it, here comes the fun, you know? Now that the business side of things is over, they can have a sweet time. And look, ShiauC had a phenomenal time in that game. The hooks were absolutely on point. The play inside of the fog of war, I don't want to be in the game playing against that. Keep me away. I don't want any part.
No. Unless you have complete and utter vision control, like, you just got to ban the Blitzcrank.
Yeah, which they never did, because it's an Umbral Glaive Kai'Sa. Like, how do you play?
I don't know. After the break, we'll see the LEC team BDS enter the world stage, and we talk to their mid laner Nuke about his world's debut in the latest episode of Oppo Welcome to the Rift.
Hi, my name is Nuke. I'm mid laner for Team BDS, and this is my first time at Worlds. We just won against GG. It was a stomp, 3-0. Yeah, I'm super happy because basically this match was the result of all those years, all those hard work. This year had so much highs and lows, and now we just have to keep going, and it's just such an amazing feeling. I'm just really proud of my team. I'm really proud of that. Getting back there, I was so happy because I just have this feeling of when I'm in Korea, I don't know, I'm just playing so much better, and I'm so happy to be there. Everyone can do it basically if you give yourself like the time and just the energy. You have to work for this really hard work. Just never give up until one point you will make it.
The second I say that, ShiauC charges in. It's going to be the target onto Harp, and his first blood instantly. He's just deleted. Yutapon, what a route, though! Farming up the storm, fantastic. He's got that mythic. We talked. Oh no, another hook. The silence is there as well. The Shunn dives onto apaMEN. This is a bloodbath in DFM. They're just not having a good time anymore. Aria trying to get onto Shunn, trying to find an assassination of his own, but he's knocked up and shouldn't be taken down. The Q can't quite finish the kill, but ShiauC can. It's ShiauC to the rescue.
A team against a king. Seeing against believing. A moment against a moment for the ages. Countless battles, one arena. The realm. The only thing capable of powering the game, the stage, the broadcast, and the worldwide spectacle we know and love. AKA the Cisco Network.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Hey, this is what you came for. Blood on the game bow. Everybody drop it